Hey guys, it's Nemo here again. Just want to say thanks for tuning in as always. Enjoy these new 20 dating app horror stories. Now, let us know in the comments what you thought, which one was your favourite, and let's interact. Let me know where you're listening from. Smash that like button if you enjoy the stories as always, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's listen to some stories.
I almost didn't go out that night. It was one of those gray evenings where everything felt slightly off for no reason, like the day was already tired before it even started. I remember standing in my room scrolling through the app, half dressed, telling myself I could just cancel and nobody would care. We had only matched 2 days earlier. She didn't feel real yet. Just a profile with blurry photos and a bio that felt copied from somewhere else. Still, something about it pulled me in. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was the way her smile looked like it was hiding a joke I wasn't in on. The bar we picked wasn't trendy or loud. It was one of those places wedged between a closed laundromat and a tax office, with dim lights and sticky tables that never felt fully clean. I liked it because it didn't try too hard. It felt like a place where nothing important was supposed to happen. I got there early and took a seat near the back, facing the door. I always do that without thinking, like some leftover habit from being anxious all the time. She showed up right on time, which already felt strange. Most people don't do that. She looked almost exactly like her photos, which made me relax a bit. Same jacket, same tired eyes, same crooked smile. The only difference was how quiet she felt. Not shy quiet, just like she wasn't fully there. Like her mind was lagging behind her body by a second or two. The first part of the night felt normal. Drinks came, time passed, the background music switched playlists. I checked my phone a couple times, mostly out of habit. Nothing weird yet. I remember thinking this might actually turn into a second date, which was rare for me. My dating app luck was usually terrible. This felt different, calmer. Then she went to the bathroom. She didn't say much when she stood up, just grabbed her bag and walked toward the back hallway where the restrooms were. I watched her disappear behind the door and then looked down at my phone again. I wasn't waiting for anything specific. I just needed something to do with my hands. That's when the app refreshed. I didn't swipe or tap anything. The screen just blinked and updated like it sometimes does when your signal changes. At first, I didn't notice what was wrong. I was still half distracted, half thinking about whether I should order food. Then my eyes caught the line under her profile picture. It said last date in progress. No notification, no animation, just those words sitting there like they had always been there. I stared at it longer than I should have. My first thought was that it was some new feature. Apps change stuff all the time without explaining it. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it meant currently on a date, like a status update. Still, my chest felt tight in a way I couldn't explain. I refreshed the page again, same thing. I backed out to my matches list. Her name was still there, but her profile was slightly grayed out, like when someone deletes their account, but the app hasn't fully caught up yet. I tapped it again. Same words, last date in progress. I locked my phone and told myself to calm down. I didn't want to be the guy who freaks out over nothing. I took a sip of my drink and tried to focus on the room around me. A couple arguing quietly near the window. A bartender wiping the same spot over and over. Everything felt real enough. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I started to notice how long she had been gone. Bathrooms don't take that long. I checked the hallway once, trying to be subtle, but the door was closed. No sounds, no footsteps. I unlocked my phone again, this time not even pretending it was casual. The app had updated again. Her profile picture was gone now, just a gray outline where her face used to be. The text was still there. Last date in progress, but smaller, like it had been pushed down by something else. Under it was a timer. I didn't recognize the format at first. Hours, minutes, seconds counting upward. It wasn't synced to anything on my phone. It just kept going. I watched it tick from 0:12:43 to 0:12:44 and felt my stomach drop. I closed the app completely. Force closed it, reopened it. Same thing. I checked her social media, the one she had linked in her bio. The account still existed, but her most recent post was gone. Not deleted, just missing. Like the timeline skipped a chunk of time. Comments from friends under older photos didn't make sense anymore, replying to things that weren't there. I stood up then. I couldn't sit anymore. I told myself I was just going to check on her, make sure she was okay. The hallway felt longer than before. The lights flickered in a way I hadn't noticed earlier. The bathroom door was still closed. I did knock. I don't know why. I just pushed it open. The bathroom was empty. No coat on the hook, no bag on the counter, no sound. Just the hum of the lights and the smell of cheap cleaner. I checked the stalls, even though I already knew. Nothing. I went back to the table in a daze. My drink was still there, untouched since I left. Her glass, too. The condensation ring underneath it looked older now, like it had been sitting there longer than it actually had. My phone buzzed in my hand. A notification from the app. Profile update. My heart was beating so loud I felt like other people could hear it. I opened it slowly, like that would somehow make the result different. Her name was gone completely. In its place was a blank profile with no photos and no bio. Just the same timer and the same words. Last date in progress. Except now there was a second line under it. Location confirmed. I didn't know what that meant, but my phone did. The map icon lit up before I touched it. A pin dropped right where I was standing, inside the bar, inside that exact room. I backed away from the table so fast I bumped into someone. I didn't apologize. I couldn't. My head was buzzing too much. I felt watched in a way that didn't make sense, like the room itself had turned toward me. I tried to leave, I really did, but when I pushed on the front door, it didn't open. Not locked, just heavy, like pushing against something that was there. Nobody else seemed to notice. People came in and out, laughing, smoking, scrolling their phones. The door worked fine for them. I checked the app again even though I didn't want to. The timer had passed an hour now. The words last date in progress were gone, replaced by something worse. Status stable. I didn't know how long I stayed there after that. Time stopped feeling real. My phone battery did drop. The clock on the wall never moved. The bartender never changed. It felt like the app had wrapped the night around itself and forgot to let it end. Eventually the app updated one last time. No buzz, no sound. Date complete. The screen went blank, her profile vanished. My matches list shortened by one like she had never existed at all. Suddenly the door opened easily. The clock jumped forward. My phone battery dropped to 15% all at once. Everything rushed back like it had been holding its breath. I went home and didn't sleep. I deleted the app before sunrise, wiped my phone, started using a different one. It didn't help. Sometimes, late at night, my screen lights up on its own. No app icon. No notification sound. Just a line of text floating there for a second before disappearing. Last date in progress. I still remember the exact moment my stomach dropped, and it was when he turned weird. It was before that. It was when everything still felt normal and I had no reason to be on edge. That makes it worse. When I think back, the scariest part wasn't what he knew. It was how calm everything felt right before I realized I should have been scared. I matched with him late one night when I couldn't sleep. I was laying on my bed, phone hovering over my face, thumb moving on autopilot. His profile wasn't flashy. No Jim Mirror stuff, no fake deep quotes. Just a couple photos that looked like they were taken by accident and a bio that felt unfinished. I liked that. It felt real. He messaged first, which already put him ahead of most guys on the app, and the conversation actually flowed. Not forced, not awkward. I didn't feel like I was performing. We talked for a few days straight. Nothing intense, just constant. Waking up messages, random thoughts, photos of whatever he was doing. It felt easy. I started checking my phone more than usual. Not in an obsessed way, just in a comfortable routine way. Like he had slid into the background of my day without me noticing. The first time he mentioned read receipts, I didn't think much of it. He said it casually like it was a feature he always used. I had mine turned off because I hated the pressure of people knowing exactly when I saw something. He asked if I could turn them on so he wouldn't feel like he was talking into nothing. That seemed fair at the time. I didn't want to be difficult over something small. So I turned them on. Nothing changed at first. Messages stayed the same. Tone stayed the same. If anything, he seemed more relaxed, more consistent. I didn't connect that to the receipts until later. I didn't connect a lot of things until later. The night it happened was boring in the worst way. Not scary, not dramatic, just dull. I was at my cousin's apartment, half watching something on TV, half scrolling. My phone was on the couch next to me. I saw his message come in. I remember seeing it light up. I also remember not opening it right away. I got distracted. My cousin asked me something. I went to the kitchen to grab a drink. I checked another app. Time passed without me noticing. It couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, maybe less. When I finally picked up my phone, I opened his message. The reply came almost instantly. Not fast like eager fast. Fast like it was already waiting. I didn't register what was wrong at first. My brain skimmed the words without processing them. Then it caught up, and my chest tightened so hard it felt like I couldn't breathe properly. He had described everything I had done in those 10 minutes. Not in a creepy, exaggerated way. Not in guesses. In order, in detail. Sitting on the couch. Standing up. Walking toward the kitchen. Opening the fridge. Choosing the drink I always chose. Leaning against the counter. Scrolling on a different app. Pausing. Checking the time. Picking my phone back up. I stared at the screen, reading it over and over. My hands felt cold. I checked the timestamps. There was no way he could have known. He wasn't there. He had never been there. I had never told him any of that. I checked my camera roll. Nothing new. No weird apps. No screen recording indicator. I checked my settings like that would explain it. Nothing made sense. I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. My head was spinning too much. I set my phone down like it might bite me. I stood up and walked around the apartment just to feel like I was back in my body. When I picked it up again, there was another message. This one was descriptive. It was reassuring in a way that made everything worse. He wrote like this was normal. Like he was just explaining a trick. He said the read receipts helped him feel closer, more connected, like he could tell where I was even when I wasn't talking. I looked around the apartment then, really looked. The windows were locked. The door was closed. My cousin was still on the couch, completely unaware. There was nowhere anyone could be watching from. And even if there was, that wouldn't explain knowing what was on my phone. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he guessed. Maybe he made it vague on purpose, and my brain filled in the gaps, except it wasn't vague. It was specific in ways that didn't leave room for coincidence. I asked him how he knew. I regretted that immediately. The response came slower this time. Slower, like he was choosing his words carefully. He didn't explain. He didn't deny it either. He just said that the receipts told him more than just when I read a message. They told him when I hesitated, when I paused, when I moved away, when I came back. That made no sense. Read receipts don't do that. They can't. They're just a timestamp. Everyone knows that. But my phone buzzed again before I could even finish that thought. He described what I was doing right then, standing near the window, looking outside, checking if anyone was there, holding the phone too tight. I dropped my phone. It hit the floor hard enough that the screen cracked. The vibration kept going anyway, rattling against the wood like it was alive. My cousin asked if I was okay. I said yes. I said it too fast. I picked the phone back up and turned it off completely. Not sleep. Not silent. Off. My hands were shaking so bad I had to try twice. For a moment, everything was quiet. Normal. I almost laughed from relief. Then my cousin's phone lit up. She looked down at it, confused. She said my name. She said someone was trying to add her on the app. A guy with no photo. No bio. Just an name she didn't recognize. My phone was still off in my hand. She handed me her phone without thinking. The profile looked wrong. Unfinished. Empty. But the location dot was right. It was pinned exactly where we were standing. My phone turned itself back on. The screen didn't go to my home screen. It went straight to the app. Straight to his profile. The messages were gone. All of them. Like they had never existed. Except for one new line at the bottom. It wasn't words this time. It was a status. I read it even though I didn't want to. Active again. I deleted the app that night. I wiped my phone. I turned off read receipts everywhere. I stopped matching with people. I told myself it was over, that it couldn't follow me without the app. Sometimes when I don't reply to someone right away, my phone warms up in my hand, just slightly, like something is paying attention. I knew something was off before we even met, but it wasn't in a way I could explain without sounding dramatic. It was more like a background noise in my head that wouldn't shut up. Not loud enough to stop me from going, just loud enough to make everything feel slightly wrong. The kind of wrong you ignore because you're bored and curious and telling yourself you're overthinking again. We matched on a random weekday afternoon. I was supposed to be doing something else, probably homework or scrolling without thinking. Her profile felt careful. Not fake, just controlled. Every photo looked chosen for a reason. Nothing blurry, nothing goofy, nothing accidental. Her bio was short and vague, like she didn't want to give the app anything extra to work with. I liked that at first. It felt smart. She messaged first, which already made her stand out. The conversation stayed light but steady. She didn't overshare, didn't flirt too hard, didn't disappear either. There was a balance there that made me trust it more than I usually would. After a couple days, she suggested we meet. She was very specific about the location. She wanted somewhere public, crowded, with cameras. She mentioned that more than once. Not in a nervous way, more like she was checking boxes. A big outdoor plaza near a shopping center, surrounded by caves and constant foot traffic. She even pointed out where security usually stood. I told myself she was just being careful. A lot of people are. When I got there, the place was exactly how she described it. Loud, busy, too many people to focus on any one thing. She was already there, sitting on a bench near the center fountain. She looked around constantly, not like she was scared, but like she was counting exits. We didn't hug, didn't do that awkward first contact thing. We just sat next to each other with some space between us. She smiled, but it didn't fully reach her eyes. Her phone was in her hand the whole time, screen facing down, fingers resting on it like she was ready to grab it if she needed to. The first few minutes were fine, normal. We talked about random stuff, surface level things. The noise around us made it hard to hear sometimes, but neither of us suggested moving somewhere quieter. I noticed she kept glancing at my phone when it buzzed, like she was checking if it was from her or not. Then she asked me something that didn't fit with the rest of the conversation. She asked if I had ever had trouble unmatching someone on the app. I told her no. Why would I? Unmatching is easy. One tap, and the person disappears like they were never there. She nodded, but her face didn't relax. She said something about the app being weird lately. Glitches. Updates. Profiles sticking around longer than they should. I didn't think much of it. Apps mess up all the time. Still, she shifted closer to me after that, like she wanted to make sure I was real. A few minutes later, she unlocked her phone and showed me the screen. Not close enough for me to read everything, just enough to see my profile open on her app. She scrolled, tapped, then froze. She locked her phone immediately after. Her hand was shaking, not a lot, just enough to notice. She didn't look at me right away. She scanned the crowd instead, eyes moving fast, like she was checking to see if anyone was watching us too closely. Then she finally looked back at me, and the expression on her face wasn't fear. It was frustration mixed with something heavier. She said the app wouldn't let her unmatch me anymore. No error message, no crash. The option was just gone, like it had never existed. I laughed at first, not because it was funny, but because my brain didn't know what else to do. I told her to refresh it, restart the app, log out. She said she already tried all of that before I even got there. She unlocked her phone again and showed me properly this time. My profile filled the screen. No unmatch button, no block option, just a status under my name that I had never seen before. Linked. I didn't know what that meant, and neither did she. She said it was there earlier. She said it showed up right after we scanned each other when we arrived. I didn't remember scanning anything, but then I remembered the app asking for location permission again when I got close to the plaza. I had allowed it without thinking. She locked her phone again and held it tight against her chest. She told me she wanted to stay where we were, didn't want to move, didn't want to go somewhere private, didn't want either of us to leave until she understood what was happening. The way she said it made it sound less like a request and more like a rule she was following. I checked my own phone. My app looked normal at first. Her profile was still there like it should be. But when I tried to unmatch her, the button lagged. The screen froze for half a second, then bounced back like I had never touched it. I tried again. Same thing. I looked up at her, and she was watching my screen now, eyes locked on it. She didn't say anything, but her shoulders dropped a little, like this confirmed something she had been hoping wasn't true. My phone buzzed. It wasn't a message. It was a notification from the app itself. Something about connection stability improving. Something about nearby verification complete. The crowd around us suddenly felt thinner, even though it wasn't. I became aware of how exposed we were and how trapped that somehow made us. Too many eyes, too much noise, nowhere to process any of it. She told me this had happened before. Not exactly like this, but close enough to scare her. A previous match who wouldn't disappear. Messages that lingered after unmatching. Notifications that showed up even after deleting the app. She said she started insisting on public meetups after that. Places with cameras, witnesses, routines. I asked her why she was still using the app if it did this. She said she didn't have a choice anymore. Her phone buzzed this time. She flinched hard enough that she almost dropped it. She unlocked it slowly, like she was afraid of what she would see. I couldn't see the screen from where I was sitting, but I saw her face change. The app had updated her profile status. Connected. Mine did the same a second later. I felt my phone warm in my hand, not overheating, just warmer than it should have been, like it was working too hard. She said she wanted to leave, but not together. She didn't want us walking the same direction. Didn't want anyone thinking we came as a pair. She stood up first, slowly, eyes still scanning the plaza. Before she walked away, she did one last thing. She turned her phone off completely and slid it into her bag. She told me she wouldn't turn it back on until she was somewhere safe. I watched her disappear into the crowd, moving fast but not running. I tried to leave too. The app sent another notification. Distance increasing. I walked faster. Distance unstable. I stopped and turned around, heart pounding. The plaza looked the same. People everywhere. Nothing out of place. Distance restored. I went home and deleted the app immediately. Wiped my phone. Reset everything. For a while, it worked. Weeks went by without anything strange. Then one night, my phone lit up with a notification from an app I had never installed. Profile linked nearby. I didn't open it.
Hey guys, really sorry to disturb you, but if you're enjoying the stories up until this point, please smash that like button. That's all I'm asking for you guys. Let's break some records this year. Now, back to the stories.
I didn't even want to go on that date. I remember sitting on my bed with one shoe on, staring at my phone, trying to convince myself I was being dramatic for no reason. Nothing bad had happened yet. There was no clear red flag, just a weird gut feeling that wouldn't shut up. The kind you usually ignore because ignoring it is easier than canceling and feeling awkward about it later. I matched with him a week earlier. His profile felt normal in a boring way. Decent photos, average bio, nothing that screamed danger or desperation. He didn't message in a creepy way, didn't push, didn't overshare. He just stayed present, consistent. That alone made him feel safer than most guys I had matched with. We agreed to meet at a late-night diner on the edge of town. Not fancy, not empty, just one of those places that stayed open because people always needed somewhere to go and they didn't want to be home. Bright lights, cracked booths, constant coffee refills. I liked it because it felt neutral. No pressure to dress up. No expectation to stay long. He was already there when I walked in, sitting in a booth near the window. He smiled when he saw me, stood up like he'd have been taught to do that, and slid back into his seat. Nothing weird. Nothing off. My shoulders relaxed almost immediately, which made me feel stupid for being nervous in the first place. The date started out fine. Not amazing, not awful, just fine. We talked about school, jobs, random stuff we had both read online. He laughed at the right moments. He listened. He didn't stare at his phone. If someone described it later, it would sound like the most average first date ever. But there were little things that didn't sit right once I started paying attention. He knew too much about the app. Not just how to use it, but how it worked behind the scenes. He talked about updates before they rolled out. Features that didn't exist yet. He framed it like curiosity, like he just liked tech. I didn't question it out loud, but I felt that same tight feeling in my stomach again. Another thing was how focused he was on my phone. Not in a jealous way, more like he was tracking it. Every time my screen lit up, his eyes flicked down for half a second. Every time I flipped it face down, he leaned back like something had gone wrong. I told myself I was imagining it. Halfway through the date, I went to the bathroom. I took my phone with me, locked myself into a stall, and just stood there for a second breathing. I didn't text anyone, didn't scroll. I just needed a break from being perceived. That's when my phone buzzed. It was the message. It was the notification sound I recognized either. It was sharper, more urgent. I unlocked my phone, and the app opened by itself. At first, I thought it was a glitch. The screen was darker than usual, like a low battery warning, even though my battery was fine. There was a banner across the top that I had never seen before. It was a safety alert. It didn't use dramatic words. It didn't panic. It just calmly informed me that the person I was currently matched with had been flagged for concerning behavior. It suggested ending the date early. It suggested staying in a public space. It suggested sharing my location with someone I trusted. My heart started racing so fast it felt unreal, like my body was reacting before my brain caught up. The alert updated while I was still staring at it. Risk level elevated. I scrolled, hands shaking. There was a summary underneath. Reports from other users. Patterns of behavior. Repeated complaints about boundary issues. About monitoring. About showing up uninvited after dates ended. None of it mentioned violence. None of it needed to. What scared me most was a timestamp. The alert had been triggered less than a minute ago, while I was sitting across from him. I locked my phone and shoved it into my pocket like it might explode. My reflection in the mirror looked wrong. Pale, eyes too wide. I splashed water on my face and tried to act normal. I told myself not to panic, not to let him notice anything was different. When I walked back to the booth, he looked relieved, like he had been waiting for something to resolve. The rest of the day felt completely different, even though nothing on the surface had changed. His smile lasted a little too long. His posture was too relaxed. He asked questions that circled back on themselves, like he was checking for consistency. I answered carefully without thinking about it. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. I didn't look. I couldn't. I focused on finishing my food, on keeping my breathing steady. I told myself I would leave soon. I just needed to pick the right moment. Then his phone buzzed. I watched his face change when he looked at the screen. Not surprised, not confused. Annoyed, like something had interrupted a plan. He glanced at me right after, eyes sharp, searching. My chest tightened. I felt like prey, realizing too late it had been noticed. My phone buzzed again. I excused myself without making it obvious. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, said something about needing to get home. I didn't wait for a reaction. I walked straight to the counter, paid, and headed for the door. The alert was still there when I checked my phone outside. It had expanded. The app informed me that he had been notified that a safety feature had been activated nearby, not by name, not directly, just that someone in his immediate dating radius had received a warning. My stomach dropped. I looked through the diner window. He was still sitting in the booth, phone in his hand, staring at the door I had just walked through. He didn't look angry. He looked curious. I walked faster. My phone vibrated again, stronger this time. The app prompted me to confirm my location. It offered to call someone for me. It offered to stay active in the background. It said it would continue monitoring for changes. I crossed the parking lot, keys between my fingers like that would help. When I reached my car, I noticed another car idling nearby, lights on, engine running, Too close. My phone buzzed again. His profile had updated. Not a message, not a notification, just a status change. Date interrupted. I got in my car and locked the doors immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice. When I finally started the engine, the other car didn't move. It just sat there, headlights pointed at me. The app buzzed again. Safety protocol active. I pulled out of the lot without looking back. The drive home felt longer than it should have. Every car behind me felt suspicious. Every red light felt like a mistake. My phone stayed warm in my hand the entire time, like it was working nonstop. When I got home, I didn't go inside right away. I sat in my car, doors locked, checking the app over and over. His profile was still there, but blurred out now. Inaccessible, flagged. A warning symbol pulsed next to his name. I deleted the app right there in my driveway. I thought that would be the end of it. A few days later, I got an email from the app, not a generic one, a personalized one. It thanked me for using the safety feature. It informed me that appropriate action had been taken. It didn't say what that action was. That night, my phone buzzed with a notification from a different app, one I barely used. Someone had viewed my profile. The name was familiar. It was his. I used to think pictures were harmless, just frozen moments you could scroll past without feeling anything. This one ruined that idea for me. Even now, every time my phone camera opens by accident, my chest tightens like my body remembers something my brain keeps trying to forget. I matched with her on a Sunday night when I was avoiding sleep. The app felt extra dead that night, like everyone else had better plans or actual lives. Then her profile popped up and it stood out without trying. No filters, no staged poses. Just regular photos that felt too normal for an app where everyone was trying so hard. Her bio was short and kind of vague, but in a casual way, like she wasn't trying to sell herself. We started talking and it clicked fast. Not in a dramatic soulmate way, just easy. Messages didn't feel forced. Jokes landed. Time passed without me noticing. After a couple days, it felt like we had known each other longer than we actually had. I remember thinking that was rare. She suggested meeting in person pretty quickly. Not rushing, just straightforward. A small outdoor market near the river, lots of people, music, food stands, random families walking around. It felt safe, relaxed. I said yes without overthinking it. When I got there, she was already walking toward me like she knew exactly where I would be. She smiled big, waved, and for a second I felt that stupid rush like maybe this would actually be something good. We grabbed food, walked around, talked about nothing important. The sun was setting, the lights were turning on, and everything felt like it was lining up the way it was supposed to. About halfway through, she asked if we could take a selfie together. That didn't feel weird at all. People do that, especially on first dates now. I didn't think twice. She held her phone out, leaned closer, and smiled. I remember noticing how natural it felt, like we had done it before. The camera clicked, and that was it. Just a moment. Just a picture. She looked at the photo for a second, nodded like she approved, and put her phone away. We kept walking. I forgot about it almost immediately. The date ended normally. No awkward goodbye, no dramatic spark either. Just a comfortable ending. We said we would talk later. I went home feeling lighter than usual, replaying little moments in my head like people do when something feels promising. That night, my phone buzzed while I was laying in bed. It was a notification from the app. She had uploaded a new photo. Curious, I tapped it. There it was, the selfie, the one we had taken a few hours earlier. Same angle, same smiles. Except the caption underneath made my stomach drop so fast, it felt like my body skipped a step. Happy 6 months to us. I stared at it, confused at first, waiting for my brain to catch up. 6 months didn't make sense. We had met today for the first time. There was no inside joke about that. No sarcasm. The caption didn't feel playful. Then I noticed the date. The app showed it as posted 6 months ago. Not edited, not backdated manually. It was listed like it had always been there, buried among older photos. Except it couldn't have been. The picture didn't exist 6 months ago. We didn't exist 6 months ago. I refreshed the app, closed it, reopened it. Same thing. My heart started pounding. I scrolled through her profile, really looking this time. The photos felt different now. Little details jumped out. Background locations I recognized from things we talked about earlier, like memories she shouldn't have had yet. A photo of her at the same market we had just been at, dated months before we ever matched. I had assumed it was coincidence before. Now it felt deliberate. I checked the comments under the anniversary post. There were reactions. Not many, but enough to make my skin crawl. People congratulating her. Heart emojis. One comment asking if I was the same guy as last time. Last time. I backed out of the post and checked my own profile. Nothing new. No tags. No mention. But when I opened our chat, the message history didn't start where it should have. It went back further. Way further. Conversations I didn't remember having. Inside jokes I didn't recognize, but somehow still felt familiar, like something I had read once and forgotten. Photos were shared in the chat too. Pictures of places I had been. My room, my street. Angles that made no sense. I never sent them. I locked my phone and sat up in bed, trying to slow my breathing. I told myself it had to be a glitch. Some weird sync issue. Apps mess up timestamps sometimes. It happens. But my phone buzzed again. She had liked one of my old photos. Not old like last year. Old like from before I'd even downloaded the app. A picture from another platform I had linked. One I barely remembered posting. I opened her profile again. The anniversary post was gone. For half a second, relief washed over me. Maybe she realized the mistake. Maybe she deleted it. Then I scrolled. The post was still there, just deeper now, buried under more photos, more moments, more proof of a relationship I didn't remember live. Each post was dated further back. Trips we never took, meals we never ate, holidays I spent alone that now showed her beside me, smiling at the camera. The photos were convincing, too convincing. Not obviously edited, lighting matched. Shadows lined up. Even my expressions looked real. I checked my own camera roll with shaking hands. Some of the photos were there. Not all of them, but enough. Images I didn't remember taking. Timestamps that lined up with days I couldn't clearly recall. Nothing dramatic, just gaps. Days that blurred together. Days I assumed were boring. My phone buzzed again. A memory notification. 6 months ago today. I didn't open it. I couldn't. The next morning, I woke up with a headache and that heavy feeling like something bad had happened, but you can't remember the details. My phone was face down on the floor. When I picked it up, there were no new notifications, no messages from her, no alerts. I opened the app slowly. Her profile was still there. So was the anniversary post. This time, the caption had changed. Can't believe how fast time flies. I scrolled to the very first photo on her profile, the earliest one. It was another selfie of me and her, dated a year ago. I don't remember that year. I unmatched her. The app froze for a second, then confirmed it. Her profile vanished. Everything felt quiet after that. Too quiet, like the world had muted itself. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. A new notification from the app. She had uploaded a memory. I didn't open it. I deleted the app instead. That night, my phone showed me a photo in my gallery that I swear wasn't there before. Me and her, smiling. The thing that still messes with me is how proud she sounded when she said it. Not proud in a bragging way, not trying to impress me. It was more like a fact she had tested over and over and proven to herself, like gravity or math, something dependable. At the time, I didn't know that sentence would replay in my head for weeks after, getting worse every time I remember a new detail. We matched late at night, the kind of late where everything feels softer and riskier because you're tired enough to stop filtering people properly. Her profile didn't stand out at first. Normal photos, normal bio, nothing dramatic. I almost swiped past her. The only reason I didn't was because she had this calm look in her eyes like nothing ever surprised her. We started messaging and it was smooth immediately. Not intense, not dry. She asked good questions. She remembered small things I mentioned. It felt like talking to someone who had already decided who I was and was checking off boxes. I liked it. I didn't realize how backwards that was. She suggested meeting after a few days. Her idea, not mine. A small art exhibit opening in an old converted factory. Lots of people, lots of movement, drinks, music, concrete floors that echoed when people laughed. It felt public but not obvious, like a place where you could disappear into a crowd if you needed to. She was already there when I arrived, leaning against a wall covered in posters from past shows. She smiled when she saw me, and it felt warm and practiced at the same time. We walked through the space together, commenting on random pieces, standing close enough that it felt intentional but not forced. For most of the night, it was good. Genuinely good. She listened. She laughed at the right moments. She made me feel like I was being judged. Every time I started to relax, she would ask something that pulled me back in, something personal enough to matter but not enough to scare me off. At one point, while we were standing near a sculpture made of twisted metal, she mentioned casually that she had never had a bad first date. The way she framed it made it sound impossible, so I paid attention. She didn't say she hadn't met bad people. She didn't say every date turned into something amazing. Just that the first date was always good, always smooth, always ended the way she wanted. I remember thinking that was lucky. I asked how. She smiled again, slower this time, like she was deciding how much to share. Then she told me, not all at once, piece by piece, spread out through the rest of the night so it didn't hit too hard at first. She said preparation was everything. She never left things to chance. She learned early that people are unpredictable unless you remove the variables. She showed me her phone, not shoving it in my face, just holding it where I could see if I wanted to. It was open to a folder. Inside were screenshots, lots of them, profiles, messages, tagged photos, comment sections. Not just from dating apps, from everywhere. She didn't call it stalking. She called it checking patterns. She knew where I usually went after work. She knew which nights I stayed in. She knew the names of people I talked the most online. She knew what kind of mood I was probably in when we matched based on the time and what I had posted that week. None of it was wrong. That's what made it unsettling. It was all information I had technically put out there myself. She said she always made sure the setting favored her. Public, but not too public. Familiar to her, new to them. She picked places with predictable layouts, clear exits, and enough noise to cover awkward moments. Then she explained the part that made my chest tighten. She said she adjusted people before the day even started. She learned what made them uncomfortable, what made them confident, what made them feel seen. Then she guided the date in that direction. If someone hated silence, she filled it. If someone talked too much, she listened until they felt understood. If someone liked control, she let them think they had it. She didn't call it manipulation. She called it balance. I tried to laugh it off in my head. Tried to tell myself she was exaggerating. Lots of people research their dates. That's normal now. But then she told me about her backup plans. She always shared her location with a friend, but not the way everyone does. She had timed check-ins. If she didn't send a specific emoji at a specific minute, her friend would show up. Not call, not text. Show up. She had notes saved for every date, reminders of what to say if things stalled, reminders of what not to mention, reminders of what outcome she wanted and how long to stay to get it. She said she never let a date end badly because she never let it end naturally. By the time she finished explaining all this, the exhibit was winding down. People were leaving. The space felt emptier, louder somehow. Her voice didn't change when she talked about any of it. No nerves, no excitement, just calm certainty. I started noticing little things then. How she always stood between me and the exits without making it obvious. How she subtly steered us away from groups she didn't recognize. How she checked her phone at exact intervals, like she was following a schedule. She told me she didn't like surprises. She said bad first dates only happened when people felt out of control. I asked her if she ever let go, if she ever just showed up and let things happen. She smiled again, that same slow smile, and said she didn't see the point. As the night ended, she said she had enjoyed herself. I believed her. That was the worst part. Everything about her felt sincere, not warm, but precise, like she was exactly where she meant to be. We walked toward the exit together. She didn't ask for another date, didn't ask for anything. She just hugged me, quick and familiar, like it was our first time doing that. When I got home, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the dating app. She had updated her profile. Out of curiosity, I checked. Her bio was slightly different now, just one new line added at the bottom. Another good one. I unmatched her immediately. The app took longer than usual to process it, but it went through. Her profile disappeared. I sat there for a while, phone in my hand, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. She had threatened me. She hadn't done anything illegal. She was just extremely prepared. The next day, I noticed something strange. My routine felt off. Places I usually went felt different, like I was noticing them for the first time. I caught myself checking exits without meaning to. I timed things more carefully. I thought about how I was being perceived. It felt like her habits had rubbed off on me. That night, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. No name, no context. It said the first date had gone exactly as planned. I blocked the number. A minute later, another message came through from a different number. It said there was never a bad first date if you made sure of it. I still don't like when people touch my phone. Not in a privacy way, more like a physical reaction. My hand tightens without me thinking about it. My chest does that weird drop. I didn't used to be like that. It started after this date, after something so small and stupid turned into the reason I stopped trusting my own screen. The night started normal enough, boring even. I matched with him earlier that week, and nothing about his profile stood out. That should have been my first clue, but I was tired of dramatic people. His photos were clean, his bio was short, and he didn't try too hard. We talked for a bit, and it stayed light. No pressure, no intensity, just enough to make me agree to meet. We picked a late coffee spot near campus, the kind that stayed open because students needed caffeine at weird hours. Bright lights, big windows, lots of laptops, and people pretending to study. I liked that it felt exposed. Safe. He was already there when I walked in, sitting at a small table near the back. He smiled when he saw me and stood up a little too fast, like he was nervous but trying not to show it. I felt bad for him at first. That lasted maybe 10 minutes. We ordered drinks, sat down, and talked. Nothing wild. Classes, work, random internet stuff. He laughed easily, but there was something off about it. Not creepy, just delayed, like his reactions were half a second late. He kept glancing at my phone whenever it buzzed. I noticed but didn't say anything. Lots of people do that without realizing. Still, it stuck in my head. About halfway through, I checked the time on my phone. I had an early morning the next day and didn't want to stay out too long. He leaned forward and asked if he could see my phone for a second. I asked why. He said it was a joke. I should have said no. I know that now. But it felt awkward to shut it down over something that sounded harmless. I handed it to him without unlocking it, screen dark, thinking he would just pretend to look at it and give it back. He turned it over in his hands, smiling, like he was inspecting something fragile. Then he asked me to unlock it. I hesitated, he noticed. He said it was fine if I didn't want to. He said he was just curious. His tone stayed light, but his eyes didn't move off my face. I unlocked it. That was my second mistake. He took my phone and held it in both hands, thumbs hovering like he was about to type, but wasn't. He didn't open anything. He didn't scroll. He just looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. It felt like too long. Not dramatically long, just long enough to make my skin crawl. Then he handed it back. I didn't check it right away. I didn't want to seem paranoid. I put it face down on the table and tried to shake the weird feeling crawling up my spine. The rest of the date fell off after that. He seemed more relaxed, more confident, like something had gone his way. I felt the opposite. My focus kept drifting back to my phone, like it was calling to me. After a few more minutes, I told him I had to go. I grabbed my things, stood up, and left without dragging it out. He didn't argue. He just watched me walk away, smiling that same delayed smile. I didn't look at my phone until I was outside. The screen lit up normally. Notifications came through, messages from friends. Nothing looked wrong at first. I unlocked it and went to open the dating app out of habit. It was there. I frowned and scrolled through my home screen, then through my app library. Then I searched by name. Nothing. I checked the other dating app I sometimes used. Also gone. Then the third one, the one I barely touched anymore. Gone. My chest tightened. I stopped walking and stood under a streetlight, phone glowing in my hands. I checked my storage, my app history. Everything pointed to the same thing. They weren't hidden. They were uninstalled. My heart started racing. Apps don't just delete themselves, especially not all at once. I opened my settings and checked recent activity. There was a timestamp from minutes ago, while I had been sitting across from him. Multiple apps were moved in under a minute. I thought maybe my phone glitched. Maybe there was some update. I restarted it right there on the sidewalk, hands shaking, hoping everything would reappear. It didn't. I re-downloaded one of the apps immediately. My signal was bad, but it eventually installed. I opened it, logged in, and waited for my matches to load. The screen stayed blank longer than usual. Then a message popped up. Account not found. I tried another app, same thing. It was like my profiles had never existed. I walked home in a daze, phone clutched tight. My brain kept replaying the moment he held it. How calm he looked. How patient. When I got to my lib, I sat on my bed and tried to think logically. Maybe someone hacked me. Maybe there was a security issue. Maybe it was all coincidence stacked on top of itself. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It didn't introduce itself. It didn't explain anything. It just said I didn't need those apps anymore. My stomach dropped so hard I felt sick. I blocked the number immediately. Another message came through from a different number seconds later. Same wording, same calm tone. I turned my phone off. The next morning, I went to class like nothing happened. I told myself I was overreacting. I told myself I could just make new accounts, start fresh, pretend this never happened. That afternoon, I tried to sign up again. Every app rejected me. Email already used. Phone number invalid. Account permanently disabled. I tried different emails, different usernames. Nothing worked. That night, I got another text. It said it was better this way. I didn't reply. I changed my number a few days later, got a new phone, new accounts. I stayed off dating apps completely for months. Then one night, while scrolling through a social app I barely use, I saw a familiar face in my suggested contacts. His. Same photos, same smile. His bio had one new line. Offline works better. I didn't notice the unmatch right away, and that delay is what messed with my head later. It happened in the middle of a sentence mid-thought, while everything still felt normal. 1 second we were talking like any other date that wasn't going anywhere special, and the next second the app quietly erased her from my screen without warning, like it was correcting a mistake. I matched with her on a slow afternoon when I was killing time between classes. Her profile did try to be interesting. No jokes, no fake deep lines. Just a few photos and a short bio that felt unfinished. I remember thinking she probably was that invested in the app, which weirdly made me trust it more. We talked for a couple days. Nothing intense. It stayed light and casual. She didn't ask many questions about me, but she reacted to what I said in a way that made it feel like she was paying attention. I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel tested. It felt like the kind of conversation you forget about while you're in it and only remember later. We agreed to meet at a small park near downtown. Not the pretty part with fountains and families, but the quieter section with old benches and cracked paths. It was still public, just not busy, she picked it. Said she liked places where you could hear yourself think. When I got there, she was already sitting on a bench scrolling on her phone. She looked up when she saw me and smiled like she had been expecting me for a while. We sat down next to each other, leaving some space, and talked. The air felt heavy, like it was going to rain, but never quite did. The date itself wasn't bad. It wasn't great either. Just steady. We talked about school, work, random stuff. She listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, it was usually something thoughtful, like she had been waiting for the right moment to say it. About 20 minutes in, she checked her phone and frowned slightly. I didn't think much of it. Then she did something that made my stomach drop. She swiped on her screen and nodded to herself. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the notification from the app saying the match had ended. I looked up at her, confused. She was still sitting there, phone in her hand, looking directly at me. Calm, relaxed. She told me it was good. Now she could be honest. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't sound angry or nervous. It was said like a relief, like she had been waiting to say that exact thing. I didn't understand what she meant at first. I asked her why she unmatched. She said the app made people lie without realizing it. Profiles, messages, little performances everyone did to stay likable. She said she didn't like that version of people. She liked the part that came after. She said once the match was gone, there was no incentive to impress. No reason to pretend the date mattered in the same way. No safety net. That word stuck with me. Safety. She told me she always did this halfway through first dates. She would unmatch while still sitting with a person. She said the reactions told her everything she needed to know. I asked what she was looking for. She said honesty. Then she started telling me things she hadn't said earlier. She told me she didn't actually enjoy dating. She liked observing people when they realized they no longer had control over how they were perceived. She liked the moment where the script broke and they had to decide who they were without the app watching. She told me she had unmatched me earlier that day too, before the date, just to see if I would notice. I had. She smiled when she said that, like it confirmed something. She started pointing out details about me that made my chest tighten. Things I hadn't said out loud, habits, tells, insecurities I thought were subtle. She framed them like observations, not insults, which somehow made it worse. She said she had read me pretty quickly, said I relied on structure more than I realized, said I felt safer when expectations were clear, said that was why the unmatched bothered me. I told her it didn't bother me. She smiled again, like she expected that response. She said the app kept records even after unmatching, said people assumed once the match was gone, so was the connection. She said that wasn't true. Not really. The data lingered. Messages cached. Patterns stored. She said she liked operating in that space where people thought things had ended. I checked my phone again, half expecting the app to glitch and bring her profile back. It did. She leaned back on the bench and looked around the park like she was taking it in for the first time. She said this was usually the part where people left. Sometimes angry, sometimes embarrassed, sometimes pretending nothing happened. I asked her what happened if someone stayed. She said that almost never happened. The way she said it made my skin crawl. I noticed then how quiet the park had gotten. A couple people walking dogs far away. No one close enough to hear us. The clouds had thickened, muting the light. She told me she had notes on most of her dates, not written ones, mental ones. She remembered faces easily, remembered reactions even better. She said unmatching early helped her filter out the noise. She said she never blocked anyone. I asked why. She said blocking felt final and she preferred open endings. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the app. It was a text from an unknown number. It said she was right. My heart started pounding. I looked at her and she was watching my face closely, eyes tracking every change. She said sometimes people reached out after. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they pretended the date never happened. She said all of those responses were honest in their own way. I stood up then. My legs felt shaky. I told her I was leaving. She nodded like she expected that too. She didn't follow me. Did stand up. She just stayed on the bench watching me walk away like she was memorizing my posture. I walked fast, not wanting to look back. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. It mentioned something I had thought earlier that day. something I had said to anyone. I blocked the number. A few seconds later, another message came through from a different number. Same tone, same calm certainty. I turned my phone off. When I got home, I sat on my bed in silence for a long time. I kept replaying the date in my head, trying to pinpoint the exact moment it shifted. I couldn't. It felt like it had always been heading there. Out of curiosity, I turned my phone back on and reinstalled the app. I logged in, half expecting nothing to work. My account was still there. So was my match history. Except there was a new section I had never seen before. Previous interactions. Her name was listed there. When I tapped it, there was no profile, no photos. Just a note. Honesty achieved. I deleted the app again. A week later, I was walking past that same park when my phone buzzed. A notification from the app, even though it wasn't installed, suggested match nearby. I didn't stop walking. The first weird thing was the profile update. It was the feeling that the night was slightly out of sync, like audio and video not lining up. Everything looked normal, sounded normal, but my brain kept lagging half a second behind what was happening. I couldn't tell if I was tired or just bored or already regretting going out, but something felt delayed in a way I couldn't explain. We matched a few days earlier. His profile wasn't memorable, which is probably why I swiped right. Neutral photos, short bio, nothing intense. He messaged in a relaxed way, didn't push, didn't try to be clever. I felt like I could show up without trying, which was rare. We decided to meet at a small bookstore cafe that stayed open late. Not a chain, one of those places that smells like old paper and burnt coffee, with mismatched chairs and handwritten signs taped everywhere. It felt calm and safe, the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever happens. He was already there, sitting at a table near the back, phone on the table next to his drink. He smiled when he saw me and stood up a little, like he wasn't sure if he should. It was awkward in a normal way. I relaxed. We talked about random stuff at first. School, work, things we liked reading. Nothing deep. The cafe was quiet except for soft music and the sound of pages turning. Every now and then he glanced at his phone, but I didn't think much of it. Everyone does that. At some point, I pulled my phone out too, mostly out of habit. I was checking messages. I just unlocked it and stared at the screen like people do when there's a pause in conversation. The app was still open from earlier. His profile was at the top of my screen. I didn't mean to tap it. My thumb just did. I figured I would glance at it again, remind myself what he had written. Sometimes it helps with conversation. The bio looked different. At first, I thought I remembered it wrong. Memory is weird like that. I told myself I was mixing it up with someone else. But then I noticed the last line. It mentioned something I had said out loud maybe 2 minutes earlier. Not quoted, not copied word for word. Just rephrased in the same casual way I had said it, like a summary. My stomach tightened. I scrolled up and down. Everything else looked the same. Photos unchanged. Prompts unchanged. Just that one new line at the bottom. I locked my phone and looked at him. He was mid-sentence, talking about something unrelated, completely calm. Not watching me. Not reacting. I told myself it was coincidence. People have similar interests. People say similar things. Maybe he had edited it earlier and it just refreshed now. I unlocked my phone again a few minutes later, pretending I was checking the time. The bio had changed again. Another line added. This one was even closer to something I had just said, a small detail I had mentioned offhandedly, not something obvious or common. My chest started to feel tight. I felt heat in my face like I was about to panic, but I forced myself to stay still. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I watched him more closely after that. Every time I spoke, his eyes flicked down to his phone for a split second afterward. Not long enough to be obvious. Just long enough to notice if you were looking for it. I tested it without meaning to. I mentioned something slightly specific about myself. Not personal, just particular. something that would normally show up on a profile. I waited. I opened the app again. The bio updated while I was looking at it. The text shifted slightly, like it was being edited live. The new line appeared smoothly, as if someone was typing it somewhere else and the app was just catching up. My hand started shaking. I locked my phone and kept talking, my voice sounding too loud in my own ears. I tried to keep the conversation going while my brain raced. Maybe he was taking notes. Maybe he was just editing his profile constantly and lined up by chance. Except the timing was too exact. And the wording was too close. I stopped talking for a minute, pretending to think. I watched him. He waited, didn't rush me, didn't fill the silence. He just sipped his drink and looked relaxed. I checked the app again. No change. Then I spoke again. I said something new, something I had told anyone before, something small but specific. I didn't even finish the thought before his phone lit up. He glanced at it. My app refreshed on its own. There it was. My words, adjusted, added to his bio like they belonged there. I felt dizzy. I put my phone face down on the table and leaned back in my chair, trying to ground myself. The cafe felt quieter now, like the sound had been turned down. I noticed how far away the counter was, how few people were left. I asked him if he edited his profile a lot. He smiled and said something vague about liking to keep it current. That answer didn't help. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, needing space to breathe. My legs felt weak as I walked away. Inside the bathroom, I locked the door and leaned against the sink, staring at my phone like it might explain itself. His bio had changed again. This time, it wasn't about interests. It was about me. Not my name, but descriptions, personality traits, preferences, things I had only shown during the date. The last line made my throat go dry. It mentioned how I reacted when I got nervous. I checked the timestamp on the update. It was marked as happening now. I closed the app and checked my other apps, half expecting something else to be wrong. Everything looked normal, too normal. When I went back out, he was still at the table, same posture, same calm expression. He asked if I was okay. I nodded and sat down, my heart racing. I decided I needed to leave. I told him I had an early morning. I gathered my things, hands clumsy, phone slipping slightly. He stood up too, like he was going to walk me out. I said I would go alone. He didn't argue. As I walked toward the door, my phone buzzed. I didn't look until I was outside. The app had sent me a notification. Profile updated nearby. I opened it without thinking. His bio was different again. The last line mentioned I was about to leave. My chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. I walked faster, not running, just moving with purpose. I didn't look back. I could feel my pulse in my ears. Halfway down the street, the app refreshed again. The bio changed one more time. This line was shorter. It said learning in real time. I deleted the app right there on the sidewalk. Not carefully, not slowly. I just held the icon and removed it like it was burning me. I didn't stop shaking until I got home. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I re-downloaded the app, telling myself I needed proof. I logged back in, heart pounding. His profile was gone. Not unmatched, not blocked. Gone. But my own profile had changed. The bio section was longer than I remembered writing. The last line wasn't mine. It described the exact moment I noticed. I didn't think the question was that deep when she asked it. People ask stuff like that all the time on dates, especially when conversation starts drifting into that late night zone where everything feels a little more honest than it should. If I had known what was coming next, I would have lied. I would have said something generic and safe and boring. But I didn't. I answered like a normal person who thought they were having a normal night. We matched earlier that week, and she stood out in a quiet way. Not flashy, not intense. Her profile felt controlled, like every word had been placed carefully. I didn't find that weird at first. Some people are just private. We talked for a few days, and she kept the conversation balanced. Never too much, never too little. She didn't overshare, but she asked thoughtful questions that made it feel like she was actually listening. She suggested we meet at a small late-night diner on the edge of town. Not the kind people go to for fun, more the kind you end up at when nowhere else is open. Bright lights, cracked vinyl booths, the smell of coffee that's been sitting too long. I liked it because it felt neutral. No mood, no pressure. She was already there when I walked in, sitting in a booth near the back. She smiled and slid over to make room. Nothing felt off right away. That almost makes it worse now. The date started slow but comfortable. We talked about school, work, random stuff you talk about when you're still feeling each other out. She listened closely, head tilted slightly, like she was processing everything I said instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. Every now and then she would type something into her phone. Not texting, not scrolling. Typing. Then she would pause, look at the screen, nod slightly, and lock it again. I noticed it, but I assumed she was taking notes or writing reminders or something harmless. About halfway through, the conversation shifted. It always does eventually. Less surface level. More personal. She asked about my family, my habits, things that stressed me out, things that made me uncomfortable. None of it felt invasive. It felt like the kind of honesty you ease into without realizing. Then she asked what scared me most. Not in a dramatic horror movie way, just casually, like she was asking about favorite foods or worst classes. I thought about it for a second. I didn't want to sound dramatic or closed off. I ended up answering honestly. Not the deepest fear I had buried, but something real. Something that still bothered me if I thought about it too long. As I answered, she picked up her phone again. She typed while I talked. That part didn't bother me at first. People multitask. I figured she was just noting something or replying to someone else. When I finished, she stopped typing and looked at the screen. Her expression didn't change much. She just waited. Then her phone buzzed. Not a text notification. Something deeper, more official sounding. She looked at the screen, nodded once, and locked the phone. That was it. No reaction to what I said. No reassurance. No follow-up question. Just that nod. I asked what that was about. She told me the app liked knowing things like that. That answer didn't make sense, but she said it so calmly that I almost let it go. I asked what she meant. She unlocked her phone and turned it slightly toward me, not fully, just enough that I could see part of the screen. It was the dating app, but not the profile or messages. It was a section I had never seen before. A dark screen with fields and check marks and sliders, like settings but more detailed. There was a line of text highlighted. It was what I had just said. My fear. Worded slightly differently, cleaned up, but unmistakably the same thing. Next to it was a green check mark. Under that, a single word. Approved. My chest tightened immediately. I asked her what that meant. She said the app needed confirmation. She said it helped with compatibility, said it made things safer. I didn't understand how typing my fear into a phone and getting a checkmark back made anything safer. She explained it slowly, like she had done this before. She said the app didn't just match people based on interests. It matched based on responses, stress reactions, fears, boundaries. She said it learned faster when it had direct input. She said most people never saw that side of it. I asked why she did. She said she'd have opted in. That word stuck with me. Opted in. She told me she had access to tools most users didn't, that she had been part of a testing group a while back, that the app asked for feedback on emotional triggers. She said it started small, harmless questions. What makes you uncomfortable? What makes you leave a situation? What makes you feel unsafe? She said she answered honestly. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. She said the app worked better when it knew what scared you. She picked up her phone again and typed something else. Shorter this time, then waited. The phone buzzed again. She nodded again. I felt like the air in the diner had gotten heavier, like the room had shrunk without anyone noticing. I asked her what she was typing now. She said she was checking thresholds. I didn't like that word of either. She told me the app tracked reactions in real time. Voice changes, posture, pauses. She said it wasn't perfect, but it was improving. She said dates like this helped refine it. I asked what happened if the app didn't approve something. She said it usually meant the match wouldn't continue. I asked what happened if it did. She looked at me for a second longer than before. Not smiling, not cold, just focused. She said then it meant the date could progress. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I froze. I pulled it out slowly. The app had opened by itself. There was a notification I had never seen before. Compatibility recalculated. I scrolled, hands shaking. A new section had appeared under her profile. Validated triggers. The first one listed was the thing I had just told her. I looked up at her. She was watching my face closely, like she was waiting to see how I would react. Not nervous, curious. I asked her if she had done this on other dates. She said yes. She said it helped her avoid bad ones. She said the app didn't like surprises. I wanted to leave. Every part of my body was screaming at me to stand up and walk out. But something about the situation felt sticky, like leaving too fast would trigger something else. My phone buzzed again. A progress bar appeared on the screen. It was labeled comfort level. It was moving slowly upward. I stood up. The bar paused. She glanced at her phone and frowned slightly. She told me to relax, said leaving suddenly might confuse the system. That sentence made my blood run cold. I grabbed my jacket and told her I was done. I didn't care how I sounded anymore. As I stepped away from the table, my phone vibrated hard in my hand. The app screen flashed briefly. Threshold reached. I didn't wait to see what came next. I turned my phone off completely and walked out of the diner without looking back. I didn't stop until I got to my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the door open. I drove home with my phone off, heart pounding the entire way. When I got home, I sat in my bed for a long time before turning the phone back on. The app reopened immediately. Her profile was gone. Not unmatched, not blocked. Completed. Under it was a note. Fear registered successfully. I deleted the app right then. A week later, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No logo, no branding. It thanked me for participating. It said my input helped improve accuracy. I didn't reply. That night, as I was falling asleep, my phone buzzed with a notification from an app that wasn't installed. New match available. Criteria approved. The first thing I noticed wasn't his face or his voice or even the way he looked at me. It was the silence around him. Not quiet exactly, just empty, like the air had been cleared out a little too clean. I remember thinking it felt like when your ears pop and everything sounds wrong for a second. That feeling stayed with me the entire night, long before I understood why. We matched on a slow night when the app felt like a graveyard of half-written bios and recycled smiles. His profile didn't stand out, which is probably why I swiped right. Normal photos, nothing of overly pose. His eyes looked calm, maybe a little tired. His bio was short and kind of dismissive, like he didn't take any of it seriously. We talked for a few days. It stayed casual. He didn't ask deep questions, didn't push for anything. Just talked like he was killing time the same way I was. When he asked to meet, it didn't feel rushed or planned. He suggested a late evening walk near the harbor, where the city lights reflected off the water and people wandered around without paying attention to anyone else. I liked that it was open. I liked that there were people around even if it wasn't crowded. It felt safe in a way I didn't question. He was already there when I arrived, leaning against the railing and scrolling on his phone. He smiled when he saw me and put it away quickly. His smile looked normal enough. I smiled back. We walked for a bit, talking about nothing important. Work, random stories, places we had been. His voice was steady, relaxed. He didn't seem nervous at all. If anything, he seemed too comfortable, like this was a routine he had done many times. At one point, we stopped near the water and watched the lights ripple. He made a comment about how people believed all kinds of weird stuff. Superstition, spirits, things like that. He said he didn't believe in ghosts. Not even a little. He said it casually, like he was stating a preference. Coffee over tea, mornings over nights. I nodded and agreed, even though I wasn't sure I fully meant it. The conversation drifted, but that comment stuck with me for some reason. A few minutes later, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled, that same small private smile I had seen earlier. Then he looked at me and asked if I wanted to see something funny. I hesitated, then nodded. He pulled his phone out and opened the dating app. Not our chat, his matches list. There were a lot of them. I didn't think that part was weird. Some people swipe more than others. What made my stomach tighten was the way the photos looked. Every woman in his matches had the same eyes. It took my brain a second to register it. At first, I thought it was just bad lighting or coincidence. Then I scrolled. Photo after photo, different faces, different styles, different places. But the eyes were identical in the way they weren't right. Open, but not focused. Like they were looking through the camera instead of at it. No reflection, no spark. Just flat darkness where something should have been. It felt like looking at mannequins that had been made too realistic. I laughed nervously and said something about it being creepy, hoping he would laugh too and say I was imagining it. He didn't. He said that was the point. He scrolled slowly, deliberately, like he wanted me to take my time. I noticed then that some of the photos were old, dated months back, some even years, but they were all still matched with him. None unmatched, none expired. I asked him why they all looked like that. He shrugged and said people changed. That answer didn't sit right. I looked closer at one of the photos. The woman was smiling, but her eyes didn't match the expression at all. It was like the smile had been added after the fact, stretched across a face that was participating. I asked him if he had met any of them. He said yes, some, not all. I asked where they were now. He said they moved on. The way he said it was too vague, too practiced. I asked why he kept the matches. He said he liked to remember. That was when I noticed something else. Some of the faces started to look familiar. Not in a clear way, more like a feeling, like when you see someone on the street and think you know them but can't place where from. One of the women looked like a barista I used to see near my old live. Another looked like someone I followed online for a while and then lost track of. I couldn't be sure, but the feeling wouldn't go away. I handed the phone back and tried to laugh it off again. I told myself I was being dramatic. It was just photos. Just bad camera angles. Just my brain filling in gaps. But he didn't put the phone away. He scrolled to the bottom of the list. There was one more match. The profile picture loaded slowly. It was me. Not a selfie I recognized. Not a photo from my profile. It was candid. Taken from the side. Me laughing at something earlier that night. The angle was too close to be accidental. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I asked him how that was possible. He looked genuinely confused for the first time. Not scared, just surprised. He said the app sometimes updated early. I told him that didn't make sense. He said it didn't have to. I stepped back without realizing it. The water behind us felt suddenly too close, too dark. I pulled my phone out and opened the app with shaking hands. My matches list was empty. No chats, no profiles, nothing. Then a notification popped up. New match confirmed. I tapped it. His profile filled the screen. Except it was the same as before. His bio was longer now, detailed. It described things I had said during the walk. Things I hadn't typed anywhere. Things I didn't remember telling him directly. At the bottom of the bio was a line that made my stomach drop. Eyes still full. I looked up at him. He was watching my face carefully, like he was waiting for something specific. He said he didn't believe in ghosts because ghosts were what people called things they didn't want to understand. He said most people faded before they realized it. He said the app helped him notice when it happened. I told him I was leaving. He didn't try to stop me. He just nodded like he had expected that answer. As I walked away, I could feel him watching me, not following, just watching. My phone buzzed again. I didn't look until I was a few blocks away. The app had refreshed. My profile picture was gone. In its place was a blank silhouette. My bio had changed. It was short. Still here. I deleted the app immediately, wiped my phone, restarted it twice. The feeling didn't go away. The next day, I noticed something wrong when I looked in the mirror. Not obvious, just a subtle emptiness behind my eyes when I wasn't paying attention. I blinked hard, leaned closer. It went away. That night, I got a notification from an app I don't have. It said match preserved. I didn't open it. The night already felt borrowed, like it wasn't fully mine, before she ever said anything strange. I remember that clearly. The air felt thin, like I was walking through someone else's plan and just didn't know it yet. Nothing dramatic had happened. No warning signs. Just that quiet sense that time was moving a little too fast and I wasn't keeping up. We matched a few days earlier late at night. Her profile looked clean and calm, almost boring in a way that felt intentional. No jokes, no chaos. Just neat photos and a bio that sounded like she knew exactly what she wanted and didn't feel like explaining it. I liked that. It felt stable. We talked casually. No constant texting, no pressure. She replied when she replied. When she suggested meeting, it felt natural. She picked a small rooftop bar downtown, the kind with cheap lights strung across metal railings and music that was loud enough to cover awkward pauses, but not loud enough to be fun. She was already there when I arrived, leaning against the railing and scrolling on her phone. She smiled when she saw me, warm but contained. Nothing rushed. Nothing nervous. The date went well. Too well, maybe. Conversation flowed without effort. We talked about school, work, random habits. She laughed easily but never too loud. Every once in a while, she would check her phone, frown slightly, then relax again. I assumed she was checking the time. After a couple drinks, she suggested we leave and walk. The night was warm, and the streets were busy enough to feel safe but not crowded. We walked for a while, talking about nothing important. The city lights reflected off windows and puddles, and everything felt unreal in that late night way where nothing seems permanent. Eventually, she mentioned her place was nearby. The way she said it didn't feel like pressure. It felt casual, like she was offering a place to sit down. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't planning on staying out too late. I told her I probably wouldn't stay long. She nodded, but her expression changed just slightly. Not disappointed, thoughtful. We walked the rest of the way in silence. When we reached her building, she stopped before going inside. She looked at her phone again, longer this time, typing something, deleting it, typing again. Then she told me something that made my stomach drop. She said if I left too early, the app would mark me inactive. She said it like it was a weather update. Calm, factual. I laughed at first because it sounded ridiculous. Apps don't track how long you stay on dates. They don't care where you sleep. She didn't laugh. She explained that the app had updated recently. That activity wasn't just messages anymore. It tracked follow-through, duration, consistency. She said leaving before a certain threshold flagged accounts. I asked what flagged meant. She said it lowered visibility, limited matches, sometimes locked profiles temporarily. She said staying the night counted as full engagement. I told her that didn't make sense. She said it didn't matter if it made sense. It mattered if it worked. We stood there under the building lights while people walked past us, laughing, going home, living normal nights. Her place loomed behind us like it was already part of the decision. I asked how she knew of all this. She said she learned the hard way. She told me she had left a date early once, said she felt tired, wanted to go home. The next day, her matches slowed to nothing. Messages stopped coming in. Her profile views dropped to 0. She thought it was a coincidence until it happened again. She said the app rewarded commitment. That word made my chest tighten. I asked what happened if someone kept leaving early. She said eventually the app stopped showing them to people. She said inactive didn't mean deleted, it meant forgotten. She said people didn't notice until it was too late. I pulled my phone out then, half expecting something to already be wrong. The app was still open from earlier. Everything looked normal. Matches, messages, notifications. She leaned closer to look at my screen. Not touching, just close enough to see. She pointed to a small icon near my profile, something I had never noticed before. A progress ring. It was partially filled. She said it filled based on time spent together. She said it reset at midnight. I checked the time. We had less than an hour. I felt a wave of unease roll through me. This wasn't flirting. This wasn't a joke. She believed this completely. I asked her what happened if I stayed but slept on the couch. She said the app didn't care about that part. It just needed location stability overnight. She said as long as I didn't leave the radius, it counted. That somehow made it worse. We went upstairs. Her place was small but clean. She offered me water and sat on the edge of the couch, checking her phone again. She said her app was asking for confirmation. I asked what kind. She turned the screen slightly so I could see. It was a notification. Overnight engagement pending. She tapped confirm. My phone buzzed immediately. A matching notification appeared on my screen. Session active. I felt my heart start to race. I told myself I could still leave. Apps couldn't force me to do anything. I wasn't trapped. But then she said something quietly that made my hands go cold. She said if I left now, the app would mark me inactive permanently. She said it happened sometimes. She said she didn't want that for me. I asked her why she cared. She said she liked me. She said she didn't want to see another profile fade out. She said it was sad when that happened. I sat down slowly, phone heavy in my hand. The progress ring had moved slightly. Minutes passing. We didn't do much after that. We talked quietly. Watched something on TV without paying attention. Every so often, both our phones would buzz at the same time. Status maintained. Time locked. My chest felt tight the entire time. Not fear exactly. Pressure, like something was counting on me. Around midnight, I stood up and said I was leaving. Her phone buzzed instantly. She looked at it, then at me. She said the app was warning her. I checked my phone. The progress ring drained halfway. Status unstable. I grabbed my jacket. She didn't stop me. She just watched, eyes tired now, not manipulative, resigned. As I reached the door, my phone vibrated hard. Account status updating. I stepped into the hallway and kept walking, heart pounding. I didn't look back. Outside, the air felt colder, sharper, like I had just escaped something I didn't fully understand. My phone buzzed again. Inactive. The app grayed out. My matches disappeared. My profile dimmed like a screen going to sleep. I tried refreshing. Logging out. Nothing worked. I went home and didn't sleep. The next morning, I'd open the app again. A message sat at the top. Reactivation available. Requirements listed below. It showed a map. Her building was highlighted. I deleted the app. That afternoon, I got a notification from my email. Profile archived due to inactivity. I haven't used a dating app since. Sometimes, late at night, my phone lights up for no reason. Just one word on the screen before it goes dark. Inactive. The first thing I noticed was how tense he looked, like his body was braced for something bad to happen at any second. Not in a scary way at first, more like the energy of someone waiting for an exam result. He kept glancing at his phone, then at me, then back at the phone, like he was tracking two different clocks and hoping they stayed in sync. I matched with him on a random afternoon when I was procrastinating hard. His profile felt nervous but honest, not polished, not confident. His photos were awkward in a way that felt real, like he didn't know how to pose and didn't bother learning. His bio was short and slightly apologetic, which should have been a red flag, but I was in that mood where I felt bad swiping left on people who looked like they were trying. We talked for a few days. He replied fast, sometimes too fast, like he was worried I would disappear if he waited too long. I didn't think much of it. Lots of people are like that on apps now. Conversations die so easily that everyone is a little jumpy. When we planned to meet, he suggested a quiet spot, a small all-night diner just off a highway exit. Nothing cute, nothing trendy. Just a place that existed because it had to. Bright lights, vinyl booths, tired workers who had seen everything and didn't care. I got there first and took a booth near the window. I watched cars pass while I waited, headlights sliding across the glass like streaks. When he walked in, he spotted me immediately and waved too fast, like he was relieved I was still there. He sat down across from me and apologized for being late even though he wasn't. He kept his phone on the table, screen up, brightness low. I noticed right away that he had some kind of timer running, but I didn't say anything. The date started okay. Not smooth, not awkward, just slightly off. He laughed at the right times, but his eyes kept drifting to the phone. Every few minutes, he would check it, swallow, then relax a little before tensing up again. I asked if everything was okay. He said yes too quickly. We ordered food, talked about normal stuff, school, work, dumb internet things. But there was this constant undercurrent of urgency, like we were racing something invisible. After maybe 15 minutes, he leaned forward slightly and lowered his voice, even though the diner was mostly empty. He said he hoped I wouldn't time out like the others. That sentence hit wrong immediately. I asked what he meant. He looked at his phone again, then back at me. His hands were shaking just a little. He said it happened sometimes. That dates would go fine, and then suddenly the app would end it. Not the people, the app. I laughed nervously and said apps don't do that. He didn't laugh back. He turned his phone so I could see. It was open to the dating app, but not the chat. It was a screen I had never seen before. A dark interface with a countdown bar at the top. No numbers, just a slowly shrinking line. Next to it was a label. Session active. Under that, a list. Connection strength, engagement rate, response latency. Some of the items were highlighted in green, some yellow. One was red. I asked what made it turn red. He said pauses. He said if someone disengaged too long, the app assumed the connection was failing. I told him that sounded insane. He said it didn't matter if it sounded insane. It mattered if it worked. He told me he had lost matches before. Not unmatched, not ghosted. Lost. Chats erased mid-conversation. Profiles wiped like they never existed. He said the app called it a timeout. He said once it happened, the person never showed up again in his matches. Never popped up in suggested profiles. Like they had been removed from circulation. That phrase stuck with me. Removed from circulation. I asked how many times it happened. He hesitated. Then he scrolled. The screen changed to a history log. Rows of dates, names blurred out, times listed. Each one ended with the same word. Timed out. My chest tightened. Some of them were from months ago, some more recent. All ended around the same length of time into the date. I noticed something else too. The last entry was live. My name was at the top. The timer bar was already halfway gone. I asked him why he kept using the app if it did this. He said he didn't have a choice. He said once you were in long enough, the app stopped letting you leave. Said deleting it didn't work. Said it just picked back up when you came back. He said he had tried uninstalling once. He said the app sent him a reminder notification the next day anyway. Connection unresolved. He told me he learned how to manage it, how to keep the bar from draining, how to keep the app happy. I asked how. He said talking helped. Eye contact helped. Staying present helped. He said silence was dangerous. As if on cue, a pause settled between us. The timer bar shrank visibly. His face drained of color. He leaned forward and started talking fast, jumping topics, asking questions, filling space. I answered automatically, heart pounding, trying to keep up. The bar slowed. He exhaled shakily and smiled like we had narrowly avoided something. I wanted to leave right then. Every instinct told me to stand up and walk out. But my eyes kept drifting back to the phone, to the bar, to my name sitting there like it belonged to the app now. I tested something without telling him. I stopped answering for a moment. Just a few seconds. The bar drained faster. A warning flashed briefly. Engagement drop detected. He noticed immediately. He asked if I was okay, voice tight, eyes wide. He told me not to do that. Told me it could trigger a timeout. That was when I realized he wasn't in control either. He was scared. He told me about one of the others. A girl who laughed a lot at first, who got quiet halfway through, who checked her phone too much. He said the bar turned red. He said the app vibrated once. Then the chat closed. Her profile vanished. He said he tried to look her up later. Nothing. I asked if he thought something bad happened to them. He shook his head quickly and said no, said he didn't believe that, said the app just filtered people out. He said maybe they were fine, maybe they just weren't available anymore. That didn't make me feel better. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out slowly. The app was open. A banner stretched across the top. Session health critical. I stood up. The bar dropped sharply. His eyes went wide. He begged me to sit back down, panic bleeding into his voice. He said just a few more minutes, said we could save it. I felt sick. I grabbed my jacket and told him I was leaving. The bar emptied completely. The screen flashed. Timeout imminent. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I turned and walked out of the diner, heart racing, phone buzzing nonstop in my hand. Outside, the night air hit me like a wall. I kept walking faster and faster, not looking back. My phone vibrated one last time. I stopped under a streetlight and looked. The app screen was blank. Then a single word appeared. Timed out. The app closed itself. I deleted it immediately, wiped my phone, restarted it twice. Everything seemed normal afterward, except for one thing. A few days later, I got a notification for a different app. Someone liked your profile. The name looked familiar. It was his. The timestamp was current. The bio had one new line. Still waiting. I didn't feel confused at first. That's the part that scares me the most. When she said it, my brain didn't reject it. It didn't panic or argue. It just stalled, like a computer loading something too big to process all at once. The fear came later, after my mind started filling in the gaps and realizing how many of them existed. We matched on a slow afternoon when I was sitting in a campus common area pretending to do work. Her profile felt familiar in a way I couldn't place. Not recognizable, just comfortable. Her photos looked casual, like someone who didn't overthink angles or lighting. Her bio was short and kind of vague, which I usually avoided, but this time I did. Something about it felt easy. We started talking and it clicked fast. Not intense, just smooth. Messages came naturally. She picked up on my humor without trying. She remembered small details from earlier conversations. It felt like talking to someone who already knew my rhythm. After a few days, she suggested meeting. She picked a weekday evening early enough that it didn't feel like a big commitment. A quiet food hall near the edge of town, the kind with too many empty tables and echoey footsteps. I liked that it was public but calm. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting at a long table near a window, tapping her fingers lightly against her cup. She smiled when she saw me and waved like she was greeting someone she hadn't seen in a while. I didn't think much of it. Some people are just friendly. The date felt good, comfortable. Conversation flowed without effort. She laughed easily, but not loudly. She listened in a way that made me feel seen without being interrogated. Every once in a while, she would tilt her head and look at me like she was checking something off in her mind. I didn't notice the pattern until later. About halfway through, she mentioned something small about me that I didn't remember telling her. Not personal, just specific. A habit. I assumed I had mentioned it in chat and forgot. That happens. Then she mentioned another thing. A preference. Again, I brushed it off. Then the third. I joked about her having a good memory. She smiled and said she had help. I asked what she meant. That's when she said it. She told me we had already met before. Not joking, not teasing, just stating it like a fact she assumed I knew. My first reaction was confusion. I told her she must be mistaken. I would remember meeting her. She had a face you noticed, a presence that stuck. She shook her head slowly and told me I wouldn't remember it the way she did. She said last time I had a different profile. That made my stomach drop. I told her I only had one account. Always had. Same photos, same bio, same name. She nodded like she expected that answer. She told me the first profile was like this one. Said it was quieter. Said I talked less. Said I seemed tired all the time. She described the photos. One of them was of me sitting on the steps outside my old building. A photo I didn't remember taking. Another was a blurry mirror shot in a bathroom I recognized but couldn't place in time. She mentioned details that were too specific to guess. My chest tightened. I pulled my phone out immediately and checked my app history. One account, one profile, nothing else. She watched calmly, hands folded around her cup. She told me she had matched with me about 6 months ago, said we talked for weeks, said we met twice, said the second time I barely spoke. I laughed, but it came out wrong. I told her that wasn't possible, that I would remember something like that. She said I didn't remember a lot of things from that period. That was true in a vague way that made it worse. There was a stretch of time last year that felt blurry. Nothing dramatic, just empty. Days that blended together. Photos I barely remembered taking. Messages I didn't remember sending. I had always chalked it up to stress. She told me the first date back then felt similar to this one. Same easy conversation. Same location type. She said she liked repeating patterns because it made comparisons easier. She said the second date was different. She said I kept checking my phone. Said I seemed distracted. Said I asked her the same questions twice without realizing it. She said she stopped messaging after that. I asked why. She said the app suggested it. That phrase made my stomach twist. She told me some profiles were unstable. Said the app sometimes flagged people for inconsistent behavior. Said it recommended distance until the profile settled. I asked what that meant. She said sometimes profiles split. She said sometimes people made versions of themselves without realizing it. She said the app noticed before they did. I stared at her, heart pounding, trying to figure out if this was some kind of joke or manipulation. But her tone never changed. She didn't sound amused. Didn't sound threatening. Just matter of fact. I asked her why she matched with me again. She said the app resurfaced me. She said this version looked more present. She said she was curious. I asked her how she recognized me. She smiled and said she recognized patterns better than faces. She pulled her phone out and unlocked it, angling it toward me. It was our chat. It was a log. A history screen with dates and usernames blurred out. There were entries under my name. 2 different profile ads. Both labeled me. My heart started racing. She scrolled and stopped at one entry. There was a note attached. Subject exhibits fragmentation. I felt dizzy. She told me she wasn't supposed to see that part. Said the app showed extra information sometimes if you interacted with someone long enough. Said she didn't know why. She said the first profile eventually stopped responding. Said the app marked it dormant. Said it faded out of circulation. She said when she saw my new profile pop up weeks later, she knew. I asked her what happened to the first one. She shrugged and said the app archived it. I asked what that meant. She said it meant the profile wasn't active anymore. I asked if that meant I was active anymore. She looked at me for a long moment before answering. She said this one was. That answer didn't help. I stood up, heart pounding, telling her I needed air. My legs felt unsteady as I walked a few steps away. The food hall felt louder now, like every sound was pressing in on me. I checked my phone again. The app was open. My profile looked normal. Then it refreshed. A banner appeared at the top. Profile integrity updated. I scrolled. There was a new section I had never seen before. Previous iterations. One was listed. Archived. I felt sick. I turned back to her. She was still sitting there, watching me quietly and not moving. I asked her if she thought the app had done something to me. She shook her head, said it didn't do anything people weren't already doing to themselves. She said some people stay whole. She said some people did. She said the app just organized the pieces. I grabbed my jacket and told her I was leaving. She didn't stop me. She just nodded like she had expected it. As I walked away, my phone buzzed. The app sent a notification. Profile merged suggested. I didn't open it. I deleted the app right there, hands shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. My head felt full of stag. Memories felt slippery. I kept wondering what else I didn't remember. The next morning, I checked my photo gallery. There were photos I didn't recognize. Me, but different. Different clothes. Different posture. Same face. Taken during the time she said we met before. I deleted them. A few minutes later, they came back. Organized into a folder. Archived. I shut my phone off and didn't turn it back on for hours. When I finally did, there was a notification waiting. Not from the app. From an email address I didn't recognize. It said the merge could improve stability. It said resisting it caused further fragmentation. I didn't reply. That night, I dreamed about sitting across from someone who knew me better than I knew myself. Someone filling in blanks I didn't know existed. When I woke up, my phone buzzed. A dating app notification. Account restored. I didn't install anything. I didn't open it. The moment didn't land all at once. It came in layers, like my brain refused to process the whole thing in one go. First, there was the buzz of my phone. Then the empty space where his profile used to be. Then the weight of someone sitting down across from me like nothing had changed. By the time fear finally showed up, it was already too late to act normal. We matched earlier that week during a late scroll that felt pointless. His profile wasn't flashy. Just decent photos, short bio, nothing that screamed red flag. He messaged in a relaxed way, not trying too hard, not disappearing either. The conversation felt steady, like something that could turn into a real date without effort. We agreed to meet at a small bowling alley that doubled as a bar, not the loud party kind, more the quiet one with flickering screens and sticky floors. It was early enough that families were still around, which made it feel safe. Public. Predictable. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a table near the lanes with 2 drinks waiting. He smiled and waved easy and casual. I felt my shoulders drop. First impressions matter, and his felt fine. We bowled a game, talked between turns, laughed at bad throws. Nothing felt off. If anything, it felt almost boring in a good way. The kind of date you forget to be nervous on. After the game, we sat down again at the table. I pulled my phone out to check the time, thinking about how long I wanted to stay. That's when it happened. My phone buzzed. I glanced down without thinking, expecting a random notification. Instead, the dating app had opened itself. A small message sat at the top of the screen. Match ended. I frowned, confused. I refreshed the screen. His profile was gone. Not unmatched from my side. Not frozen. Gone. Before I could even react, another notification slid down. User blocked you. My heart skipped. I looked up at him immediately, expecting to see him staring at his phone, maybe smiling like it was a joke. He wasn't. His phone was face down on the table. He was looking at me. He asked why I looked scared. Not joking, not teasing, genuinely curious. My brain stalled. I tried to answer, but nothing came out right away. I looked back down at my phone, half expecting the app to glitch and fix itself. It didn't. His name was completely gone from my matches list. Even the conversation history had vanished like it never existed. I told him the app said he unmatched and blocked me. He nodded calmly like that was expected. He said it made things easier. That answer didn't make sense, but he didn't elaborate. He just leaned back in his chair and watched me, waiting for my reaction. I asked how he could block me and still be sitting there. He said the app was the same as real life. He said people relied on it too much. I didn't like the way he said that. It felt rehearsed, like something he had practiced saying. I asked him why he did it. He said he wanted to see what I would do when the safety net was gone. That phrase hit hard. He explained that when people knew they could unmatch at any moment, they acted differently, nicer, quieter, less honest. He said blocking mid-date removed that option, said it showed who someone really was. I felt my chest tighten. I looked around the bowling alley. Families were leaving. The lights felt dimmer now. The noise from the lanes echoed strangely, like the room was bigger than it should be. I picked my phone up again, hands shaking, and tried searching his name directly. Nothing. It was like he never existed on the app. I asked him if he had done this before. He said yes. He said not everyone noticed right away. He said some people didn't check their phone until later, when they were already alone. That made my skin crawl. I stood up slightly like I was about to grab my jacket. He noticed immediately. He asked me to sit back down. Not aggressively, not threatening, just firm. I didn't like that my body listened before my brain did. I asked him what would happen if I left. He shrugged and said nothing. Said he couldn't stop me. Said the app already considered the interaction finished. Then he smiled and added that finished didn't always mean over. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the dating app. It was a text from an unknown number. It said he didn't like it when people left abruptly. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I asked him if he texted me. He shook his head slowly and said he didn't have my number. That was true. We had never exchanged numbers. I showed him the message. He leaned forward slightly, studying the screen like he was curious, not concerned. He said sometimes the app filled in gaps. That sentence made no sense, but it felt heavy. He explained that blocking someone didn't erase the connection. It just changed the way it was tracked. Said the app still logged proximity, still logged interaction time, still logged outcomes. He said blocking mid-date marked something as unresolved. I asked what that meant. He said it depended on how it ended. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. It mentioned the color of my jacket. I felt dizzy. I told him I was leaving. He didn't argue. He didn't grab my arm. He didn't raise his voice. He just watched me stand up and grab my things, eyes following every movement like he was memorizing it. As I walked toward the exit, my phone buzzed again. A notification from the dating app, even though his profile was gone. Interaction incomplete. I stopped walking. My chest felt tight, like the air had thickened. I turned back toward him without meaning to. He was still sitting there, relaxed, watching me. He asked again why I looked scared. The way he said it felt different this time, less curious, more amused. I didn't answer. I walked out of the bowling alley and into the night, heart racing. I didn't stop until I reached my car. Inside, I locked the doors and checked my phone again. The app reopened by itself. His profile was back, except it looked different. No photos, no bio, just a status. Blocked locally. Linked physically. I deleted the app immediately, not carefully, not slowly. I just removed it like it was burning my hand. I drove home shaking. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I reinstalled the app, telling myself I needed proof, telling myself I was overreacting. When I logged in, there were no matches. Just one notification. You left before resolving. I closed the app and put my phone face down. The next morning, I woke up to a message request on a social app I barely use. The profile picture loaded slowly. It was him. His bio was short. It said blocking only works one way. The night didn't feel scary at first. It felt organized, like I had stepped into something that already knew how it was supposed to go. That's what makes it hard to explain now, because nothing jumped out as wrong. There was no sudden panic, no obvious threat. Just the steady sense that I was behind schedule in the story I didn't remember agreeing to be in. We matched on a random evening when I was scrolling without paying attention. Her profile felt calm, almost blank in a comforting way. Simple photos, neutral smile, bio that didn't try to sell anything. It read like someone who wasn't desperate to be noticed. I liked that. It felt like a break from everyone trying too hard. We talked for a few days. Nothing intense. She didn't text nonstop. She didn't disappear either. The conversation felt paced, like she was letting things land instead of pushing them forward. When she suggested meeting, it didn't feel rushed. She picked a quiet wine bar tucked between closed shops, the kind of place people went when they wanted to talk without being overheard. When I got there, she was already seated at a small table near the wall. She smiled and waved, relaxed, like she wasn't worrying about first impressions. I sat down and felt that weird click you get sometimes, where the space between two people feels already measured. The date went fine. Actually, more than fine. Conversation flowed easily. She listened closely, asked thoughtful questions, laughed at the right moments. I noticed she never interrupted me. She let me finish every thought, even the rambling ones. It made me feel oddly seen. Every once in a while, she would glance at her phone, but she never typed. Just checked, nodded slightly, and put it back down. I assumed she was checking the time or a notification. About halfway through, she leaned back and said something that shifted the air. She said she liked to be transparent on first dates. Said it saved time. I nodded, not thinking much of it. She pulled her phone out then and unlocked it. She didn't angle it away or guard the screen. She turned it toward me casual, like she was showing me a photo. It was our chat. It was a screen labeled Matches History. I didn't even know that was a thing. The list went on longer than I expected. Rows of profiles, names blurred, photos grayed out. Next to each one was a small tag. Some were green, some yellow, some red. She scrolled slowly, letting me see. Each tag had a word next to it. Mutual fade. Early exit. Timeout. Blocked. Archived. Completed. My chest tightened. I asked what completed meant. She said it depended on the ending. She told me the app tracked outcomes, not just whether people unmatched, but how things concluded. She said it helped the system learn, helped it optimize future matches. I laughed nervously and said that sounded like overkill. She smiled and said people like knowing how things ended, even if they didn't say it out loud. She scrolled further down. Some of the entries had notes attached, short summaries, things like avoided conflict, resisted follow-up, maintained distance. It felt less like dating history and more like case files. I asked her why she was showing me this. She said because eventually the app would ask anyway. That didn't sit right. She stopped scrolling and turned the phone fully toward me. One entry was highlighted. It wasn't completed yet. It was live. It had my name. My stomach dropped. Next to my name was a blinking prompt. Select preferred ending. I stared at it, thinking I had to be misunderstanding something. She watched my face carefully, not smiling now, not cold either, just attentive. She said the app liked to know what people wanted before things got messy. She said most people didn't get asked directly. She said she did. I asked what the options were. She scrolled down. The options were listed simply like menu items. Mutual fade, clean break, prolonged contact, archived unresolved. My chest felt tight. None of those sounded good. I asked what happened if I didn't choose. She said the app would choose for me. She said it usually picked based on behavior, hesitation, stress, inconsistency. She said that often led to archived unresolved. I asked what that meant. She said it meant the interactions stayed open. That answer was enough. She explained that archived unresolved matches sometimes resurfaced, sometimes caused repeat pairings, sometimes created overlap. She said that's how she had met some people more than once. That made my skin crawl. I looked around the bar. It felt quieter than before, like everyone else had faded into the background. The walls felt closer. I asked her if she had ever regretted an ending. She shook her head, said regret came from lack of clarity. She said choosing was better. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking hands. The dating app was open. A notification sat at the top. Ending selection pending. A timer bar had started. I looked back at her. She didn't look surprised. She said the app sends faster when both people were present. I asked her what she preferred. She said she didn't get to choose, said she was the constant, said outcomes were about the other person. That made me feel smaller somehow. The timer ticked down slowly. I asked her what happened with prolonged contact. She said that was for people who like checking in, staying connected, not fully committing to leaving or staying. I asked about clean break. She said that one worked best when both people agreed. I asked about mutual fade. She said that one rarely worked unless both people stopped caring at the same time. I asked about archived unresolved again. She hesitated just a little. She said those were the ones that came back. The timer dropped below halfway. My phone buzzed again. Behavioral data insufficient. I stood up. The timer sped up. She told me to sit back down, not urgently, just like she was offering advice. She said standing up looked like avoidance to the app. I felt sick. I sat back down slowly, heart pounding. I told her I wanted a clean break. She nodded and scrolled. She said the app would need confirmation. She asked me to confirm by leaving now and not looking back. That felt like a trap, but everything felt like a trap at that point. I stood up again. The timer slowed this time. A new prompt appeared. Confirm exit. I grabbed my jacket. She watched me, expression unreadable. I asked her what happened to the people who didn't choose. She said some of them showed up again. She said some of them didn't remember. That was enough. I turned and walked out of the bar without looking back. My phone buzzed the entire time I walked down the street. Outside, the night air hit me hard. I stopped under a streetlight and looked at my screen. Ending recorded. Clean break. For a moment, relief washed over me. Then another line appeared under it. Eligible for rematch after cooldown. I deleted the app right there, hands shaking, heart racing. I went home and didn't sleep. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I re-downloaded the app, telling myself I needed to be sure. When I logged in, my profile looked normal. No matches. No history. No warnings. Just a suggestion at the top. Recommended profile nearby. The photo loaded slowly. It was her. The bio had changed slightly. It said endings are flexible. I deleted the app again and turned my phone off. A week later, I got a notification from an app I don't use. Someone viewed your profile. I did open it. The first time I saw it, I thought my phone was just lagging. You know that moment when app freezes and shows something wrong for half a second before fixing itself? I waited for it to refresh. It didn't. I closed the app. Opened it again. Same thing. My profile photo was still there. My name was still there. But right under it was a gray label I had never seen before. Offline permanently. Not inactive. Not hidden. Not logged out. Permanently. I laughed at first because it felt easier than panicking. Apps glitch all the time. Everyone knows that. Still, I felt that weird drop in my stomach, like when you realize you forgot something important but can't remember what yet. I had been using the app on and off for months. Nothing intense. Just casual swiping when I was bored. I wasn't desperate. Wasn't obsessed. It was just there, like another social app. Something to scroll when I didn't want to think too hard. Earlier that day, everything had been normal. I had even matched with someone in the morning and exchanged a few messages. Nothing weird. Nothing that stood out. Then that night, I opened the app while laying on my bed, half watching videos, half scrolling, and there it was. Offline permanently. I tapped my profile, expecting some kind of error explanation. Instead, it opened like normal. My photos were still there. My bio was still there. My interests were still there. but the status didn't change. I tried editing my bio. It let me type, let me save, but the status stayed the same. I checked my messages. My matches list was empty. Not unmatched. Empty. No conversations. No names. I had never talked to anyone. I logged out and logged back in. Nothing changed. I deleted the app and reinstalled it. Same thing. Offline permanently. I checked my email for a warning or ban notice. Nothing. I checked my account settings. Everything looked fine. No violations. No restrictions. It didn't make sense. I decided to message support. I typed out a normal report explaining that my profile was showing a weird status and I couldn't see my matches. I hit send. The message didn't go through. An error popped up saying this account is no longer eligible for support. That was when I stopped laughing. I've opened the app again and stared at my profile, trying to see if I had missed something. The gray label felt heavier the longer I looked at it. Permanently is a strong word. Apps don't usually use words like that unless something is final. I tried searching my own name from a friend's phone. She had the app too. We sat next to each other on my bed, her scrolling while I watched. My profile didn't show up. Not hidden, not blurred, just gone. She searched again using filters. Age, distance, interests. Nothing. Then she scrolled through her suggested profiles, and I saw something that made my chest tighten. My photo. But it was my profile. It was listed as unavailable. Gray overlay. No name, no bio. Just my face and a small label underneath. Offline permanently. She handed me her phone slowly, like she wasn't sure if she should. I asked her to tap it. She did. Nothing opened. The app just shook slightly, like when you tap something that isn't clickable. I felt cold all of a sudden. I checked my phone again. A notification appeared at the top of the app. Status updated automatically. I didn't touch anything. It just appeared. I tapped it. A small info screen opened, plain text, no graphics. This account is no longer visible to active users. I scrolled. This status cannot be reversed. I sat there staring at the screen while my friend tried to joke about it being creepy. Her voice sounded far away. My head felt full, like pressure was building behind my eyes. I asked her if she had ever seen anything like this. She shook her head. I went back through my phone, looking for anything strange. Recent logins, security alerts. Nothing. Then I noticed something else. My location indicator was gone. Usually, the app shows when you were last active, a little dot, a timestamp. Mine didn't show anything, just the status. Offline permanently. I started thinking back over the last few days, trying to remember if anything weird had happened. Any date that felt off. Any conversation that ended strangely. Then I remembered something small I had brushed off earlier. The match from that morning. I checked my notifications history. There was still a record of her message. Just the notification preview. When I tapped it, it didn't open the app. It just vanished. I checked my screenshots folder. I sometimes screenshot funny messages. There was one from a few days ago that I didn't remember taking. It was of my own profile. Except the bio was different. Shorter, colder, like it had been edited by someone else. Under the bio was a status. Offline pending. My heart started racing. I scrolled through more photos on my phone. There were a few more screenshots I didn't remember. My profile at different times. Slightly different photos. Different bios. All still me, but not versions I remembered creating. Some were dated late at night. Times when I would have been asleep. I sat back on my bed, phone shaking in my hand. My friend asked if I was okay. I said yes, but my voice sounded wrong. My phone buzzed. Not a push notification. A vibration like an alert without a sound. A new message appeared inside the app. System notice. I tapped it. Your profile has been archived due to prolonged inactivity. I laughed out loud at that, sharp and ugly. I wasn't inactive. I had been using the app earlier that day. I scrolled. Archived profiles are preserved for record integrity. Preserved. Another word that didn't sit right. I asked my friend to check something for me. I asked her to open the app and look at people nearby. I watched the screen closely. As she scrolled, I saw familiar faces, people from around town. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A profile with my interests. Same music taste, same hobbies, same weird little details I always listed. Different photos. Photos I didn't recognize. Photos of me from angles I couldn't remember. The bio was different too, written like someone describing me instead of being me. Under the name was a status. Active. I grabbed her phone and scrolled faster. The distance was close. Too close. I asked her to open the profile. This time, it opened. It was me. Or something using me. The eyes in the photos looked tired, unfocused, like someone who hadn't slept. The bio talked about being ready to commit, ready to stay, ready to stop logging out. I felt sick. I checked my own phone again. Offline permanently. I realized then that the app didn't think I was gone. It thought I was done. There was another vibration. A final system notice appeared. This profile has been replaced. Replacement successful. I dropped my phone on the bed like it burned. My friend asked what was wrong, but I couldn't explain it. I didn't have words that made sense. I deleted the app right then. Not carefully, not slowly, just gone. I restarted my phone, checked everything. Nothing else seemed wrong. For a few days, I tried to forget about it. Told myself it was just a glitch, some weird backend error. Then one night, I got a notification from a social app I barely use. Someone viewed your profile. The name was familiar. It was my name. The photo was one of the ones I didn't remember taking. The status line under it said active now. I blocked it. A minute later, another notification popped up. New account suggested. Same photo. Same name. I turned my phone off and didn't turn it back on until morning. When I did, there was one notification waiting. Not from an app. Just plain text on the screen. Offline permanently. The night started with that weird calm that only shows up right before something goes wrong. Not the loud kind of wrong. The quiet kind that slips past your instincts because nothing looks dangerous yet. I remember thinking how normal everything felt, how I was already planning what I would eat when I got home, like this date was just another box to check off. We matched late one night when I couldn't sleep. Her profile felt deliberate in a way I couldn't explain. Not fake, just exact. Her photos were clear but not flashy. Her bio wasn't funny or dramatic, just confident. It read like someone who knew why they were there and didn't need approval for it. I liked that. It made me feel like this wouldn't be messy. Our messages were calm and steady. No rush, no awkward pauses. She didn't flirt much, but she asked questions that made me think before answering. Not personal stuff at first, just patterns, routines, how I spent my time. What I did when plans fell through. How I reacted to silence. I didn't realize it at the time, but she never asked anything that didn't have a measurable answer. She suggested meeting at a quiet museum that stayed open late once a week. Dim lights, polished floors, security guards who barely looked at anyone. It felt controlled. Safe. I agreed without thinking too much about it. She was already there when I arrived, standing near a large abstract piece that looked unfinished on purpose. She smiled when she saw me, relaxed, like she knew I would show up exactly when I did. We walked through the exhibits together, talking quietly, voices echoing just enough to remind us we weren't alone. Everything felt easy, too easy. Conversation flowed without effort, like we were following a script we both already read. She finished some of my thoughts before I fully explained them, but I brushed it off as coincidence. Some people just sync well. About halfway through, we sat on a bench near a wide open gallery. The room was mostly empty, footsteps echoing far away. She leaned back and said something casually that shifted the whole mood. She said dating apps didn't really pair people based on attraction anymore. She said they paired people based on compatibility. I nodded. Everyone knows that. Algorithms, preferences, data. She smiled and said that was the kind of compatibility she meant. She told me the app tracked how people ended things, not just how they started, how long they stayed, how often they came back, what made them disengage, what made them linger. She said most people thought the app was trying to find someone who matched them. She said it was actually trying to find someone who would last. That word stuck with me. Last. I asked what she meant. She explained that the app adjusted over time, that each failed match refined the next one, not to be better, but to be closer to a stable outcome. She said it learned what didn't work and filtered those traits out. She said most people were part of the process. She said a few people were the result. My chest tightened slightly, but I didn't know why yet. She pulled her phone out and unlocked it. She didn't shove it in my face. She just held it where I could see if I wanted to. It was open to a screen I had never seen before. Not messages, not profiles. A chart. Lines and percentages. Labels like retention tolerance, disengagement delay, resistance to abandonment. Things that sounded more like lab notes than dating metrics. She scrolled slowly. There was a section labeled convergence. Under it were profile ids, dozens of them, all marked removed or incompatible. At the bottom was one marked resolved. Mine. My heart started pounding. I laughed awkwardly and said that had to be a joke. She didn't laugh back. She said the app had been narrowing its criteria for a long time. Said most people dropped out naturally. They got bored, deleted the app, stopped responding, failed to meet thresholds. She said a few stayed. She said the app noticed. She told me she had seen a lot of profiles over the years. Said she rarely matched with anyone more than once. Said most people faded out of circulation. She said I didn't. She said no matter how many times she closed the app, updated her preferences, adjusted her filters, I kept resurfacing. Different timing, different photos, same underlying patterns. I asked her what patterns. She said adaptability. Said I adjusted to silence instead of fleeing it. Said I stayed engaged without pushing. Said I didn't force endings. Said I let things linger even when they weren't going anywhere. Each sentence made my stomach sink lower. She said the app like that. She said it meant I wouldn't break easily. I asked her why she was telling me this. She said because the app stopped suggesting alternatives. She said after a certain point, there were no more matches to test. She said the system flagged me as the final result. The room felt colder all of a sudden. I asked her what happened to the others. She shrugged and said they moved on, said some deleted their accounts, said some stopped appearing, said some were archived. That word again. Archived. I pulled my phone out, hands shaking slightly, and opened the app. Everything looked normal at first. Then it refreshed. A banner appeared at the top. Compatibility resolved. My profile photo dimmed slightly like it was being locked. I scrolled. A new section had appeared under my bio. Status stability achieved. I looked up at her. She was watching my face carefully, not smiling, not cold, just observing. She said this was usually the part where people got uncomfortable. She said some people left. She said some stayed and asked questions. She said the app tracked both responses. I stood up. The banner on my phone pulsed once. She said leaving wouldn't undo anything. She said the match was already recorded. I asked her what she got out of this. She said she liked knowing when the process was finished. She said endless options were exhausting. She said certainty was calming. I told her I was done, that I was leaving. She nodded like she expected that too. As I walked away, my phone buzzed again. A notification slid down. Final pairing confirmed. I didn't stop walking. My heart was racing so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. Outside, the night air felt sharp. I leaned against the building for a second, trying to steady my breathing. I checked my phone again. The app had changed. The swipe feature was gone. The matches tab was gone. There was only one screen. My profile. And hers. Linked. Underneath a line of text. No further optimization required. I deleted the app immediately, wiped my phone, restarted it twice. Everything looked normal afterward. For a while. The next day, I noticed something strange. Ads online started shifting. Recommendations changed. Content felt tailored in a way that made my skin crawl. It was all stuff that encouraged staying, settling, stopping the search. That night, I got a notification for an app I had installed. Match reaffirmed. I didn't open it. A week later, I saw her again. Not up close. Across the street, she was looking at her phone, smiling slightly. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Connection stable. I didn't look back. The scariest part was the notification itself. It was how calm I felt right before it showed up, like my body had already accepted something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. I remember thinking I was finally safe, finally done, already planning what snack I would grab when I got home. That false calm still makes my stomach twist when I think about it. The date had gone wrong in that slow, creeping way where nothing explodes, nothing obvious happens, but every instinct in your body starts whispering at the same time. We matched earlier that week. His profile was normal. Boring, even, average photos, casual bio, nothing that hinted at anything strange. The conversation before the date was fine. Not exciting, not dry. Just enough to make me agree to meet. We met at a late-night arcade bar on the edge of downtown. Bright screens, loud noises, lots of people coming and going. I liked places like that because it felt impossible for anything bad to happen without someone noticing. Safety in chaos. He was already there when I arrived, leaning against a pinball machine, phone in his hand. He smiled when he saw me and put it away quickly. That part felt normal. The first part of the date felt normal too. We played a couple games, talked about random stuff, laughed when things glitched or didn't work right. But he kept checking his phone. Not casually, not like he was bored. More like he was waiting for something. Every few minutes, he would glance down, his jaw tightening, then relax again like he had just avoided a problem. I asked if everything was okay. He said yes, but his eyes flicked back to the screen immediately after. About half an hour in, things shifted. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when. It was just this sudden awareness that I was being watched in a way that had nothing to do with attraction, like I was being monitored, not noticed. He mentioned the app again, not in a flirty way. More like it was a third presence at the table. He talked about updates about how connections were tracked differently now. How uninstalling didn't really mean leaving. That sentence stuck with me. I laughed it off, but my chest felt tight. I checked my phone under the table. The app was open even though I didn't remember opening it. Our chat was there, but something looked different. A small icon pulsed next to his name like a heartbeat. I told myself I was overthinking. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. He said some people tried to leave too early. He said the app didn't like unresolved interactions. He said it was better to let things conclude naturally. I didn't ask what naturally meant. I didn't want to hear the answer. I stood up and told him I was leaving. His phone buzzed instantly. He looked down at it, then up at me. His expression wasn't angry or surprised. It was disappointed, like a plan had just changed. He told me I didn't have to run. That word, run. I grabbed my jacket and walked away without responding. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. The noise of the arcade felt overwhelming now, like every sound was aimed directly at me. My phone buzzed as I walked toward the exit. I didn't check it. I pushed through the door and stepped outside into the cold air, breathing hard. I kept walking, not looking back, telling myself it was over. I had left. I had removed myself from the situation. Halfway down the block, I finally looked at my phone. The app had sent a notification. Interaction incomplete. I felt sick. I opened it with shaking hands. The screen was different now. Darker, stripped down. Just our profiles, side by side, connected by a thin line. underneath a status. Connection pending resolution. I didn't hesitate anymore. I deleted the app right there on the sidewalk. Not carefully, not slowly, just gone. I wiped it from my phone like it was something alive. I stood there for a moment, staring at my home screen, waiting for my heart to slow down. Nothing happened. No buzz, no alert. Relief washed over me so hard my knees felt weak. I laughed out loud, shaky and quiet. I told myself it was done. Apps can't follow you once they're gone. That's not how things work. I went home, locked my door, and sat on my bed scrolling mindlessly, trying to reset my brain. The night outside felt quieter now. Normal. Then my phone buzzed. One vibration. Not a notification sound. Not a message alert. Just a deep buzz that felt heavier than it should have. There was no app icon on the screen. Just text. You can't uninstall this connection. My stomach dropped. I stared at the words, waiting for them to disappear, waiting for my phone to correct itself. They didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there like they belonged. I restarted my phone immediately. When it powered back on, the message was gone. For a moment, I thought maybe I imagined it. Maybe stress made me see something that wasn't there. Then I checked my storage. The app was listed, but there was something else. A system process I didn't recognize. No name, no icon, just a small line of text. Connection service active. I tried to disable it. The option was grayed out. I tried searching for it online. Nothing came up. I tried contacting my phone provider. It said everything looked normal on their end. That night, I barely slept. Every time my phone buzzed from a normal notification, my heart jumped. Every time the screen lit up, I felt that same drop in my chest. Over the next few days, small things started happening. My recommendations on other apps changed. People I didn't recognize appeared in my suggested contacts. Locations I had been to once started showing up in my map's history again like reminders. Then I saw his name. Not in the dating app. In my phone. As a suggested contact. No number. No profile picture. Just his name. I deleted it. It came back the next day. I started leaving my phone in another room when I slept. It didn't help. I would wake up to it buzzing softly, screen lighting up and going dark again without showing anything. One night, I woke up and checked it. A new notification sat on the lock screen. Connection stable. I turned my phone off and left it off until morning. When I turned it back on, there was nothing there. No messages, no alerts. Everything looked normal again. But the feeling didn't go away. A week later, I was sitting on my couch when my phone buzzed one last time. A message appeared, plain text, no app attached. Resolution available. I didn't open it. I put my phone face down and let it buzz itself quiet. I don't use dating apps anymore. I don't even keep them installed. But sometimes, late at night, my phone vibrates once, softly like a reminder. No message. No sound. Just enough to let me know it's still there. I didn't even notice the second match right away, and that still freaks me out more than anything else. Not because it was subtle, but because my brain tried so hard to pretend it was normal. Like it wanted to protect me by smoothing it over. If I had reacted instantly, maybe I wouldn't still think about it every night. The first time we matched felt completely average. Boring even. His profile wasn't memorable. A couple selfies, one group photo bio that said just enough to seem human. I swiped right without thinking. We talked for a few days. Nothing intense. He replied fast, but not weird fast. He asked questions. I answered. It felt like every other conversation that never really goes anywhere. Then he started asking things that felt slightly off. Not scary, just too specific, like how late I usually stayed up, whether I turned my phone off at night or just locked it, if I ever deleted apps when I felt overwhelmed. I told myself he was just making conversation. People ask dumb stuff all the time. We never met. That part matters. One night, he sent a message that didn't sit right. Nothing explicit. Just a comment that felt like he knew what I was doing right then. I didn't respond. I stared at the screen for a long time, then blocked him. Unmatched, gone. I felt relieved immediately. That little rush you get when you close a door that felt slightly wrong. I deleted the chat and didn't think about it again. Until 2 days later. I was scrolling the app on my couch, half watching TV when a new profile popped up. Different name, different photos, same smile. I froze. It wasn't identical, but it was close enough that my stomach dropped. Same eyes, same crooked angle in the selfies, same background in one photo, just cropped differently. The bio was rewritten, but the tone felt the same. Casual. I'm assuming. Almost apologetic. I stared at the screen, telling myself I was imagining it. Lots of people look alike, especially on apps. Then I noticed one detail. The distance. 0 miles. I hadn't moved. I tapped the profile. We were already matched. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I opened the chat. The messages were empty, like we had just matched for the first time. Except for one line at the top. You have matched before. I felt dizzy. I checked the name again. Different. The photos again. Different. But when I scrolled down, the interests were identical. Same obscure stuff. Same order, even the same typo in one of them. My phone buzzed. A message came through. He said it was funny how the app worked. I blocked him immediately. This time, I didn't just unmatch. I used every option. Block, report, hide profile. I went into settings and double-checked that he couldn't contact me again. The app confirmed it. Profile blocked successfully. I put my phone down and tried to calm my breathing. My heart was racing, but I told myself it was over. Apps have bugs. Maybe it merged profiles by mistake. Maybe it was coincidence stacked on coincidence. I didn't open the app for the rest of the night. The next morning, I woke up to a notification. New match. I almost didn't open it. I knew I shouldn't, but my hands moved on their own. It was him. Same second profile. Still matched. Still 0 miles away. The chat had updated. He said blocking only removed one version. My hands started shaking. I checked the block list. His name was there. The first one. The app still showed him as blocked. But he was right there anyway. I reported the profile again. The app thanked me and said it would review the account. I unmatched, blocked. Again. Then I deleted the app entirely. I didn't just uninstall it. I cleared data, restarted my phone, logged out of everything. I told myself that was enough. For a few days, things felt normal again. Then I got a notification from a different app, a social one I barely use. Someone you may know is nearby. The profile picture loaded slowly. It was him. Different username. No bio, same face. I blocked that too. The next day, I saw him again. Not online. Outside. I was walking back to my live from class when I noticed someone standing across the street, looking down at their phone. Nothing weird about that. People do that all the time. Then he looked up. Our eyes met. I didn't recognize him right away. Not consciously. It was more like my body knew before my brain did. My chest tightened. My steps slowed. He smiled. Not wide, not threatening, just familiar. I kept walking. I didn't look back, but I could feel him watching me. That sounds dramatic, but it's true. The heavy feeling between your shoulders when you know someone is focused on you. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't stop walking. Another buzz. Then another. When I finally got inside and locked the door, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys. I pulled my phone out. No missed calls. No messages. Just one notification. Match updated. From an app that wasn't installed. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow in my room felt wrong. I kept thinking about the way he said virgin. like I was the one who didn't understand the rules. The next morning, curiosity got the better of me. I re-downloaded the app, telling myself I needed proof, that I couldn't just let this sit in my head. As soon as I logged in, the app refreshed. There was only one profile on my screen. His. No name. No photos. Just text. Still here. Under it was a small note. Previous blocks detected. Connection preserved. I didn't scroll, didn't tap, didn't breathe for a few seconds. I deleted the app again. I changed my number a week later, changed my email, locked down every account I could think of. For a while, it worked. Then last night, my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth. A notification banner slid down. New match found. Distance unchanged. I didn't open it. I turned my phone off and sat on the floor until my hands stopped shaking. This morning, when I turned it back on, there was nothing there. No apps, no notifications. Just a suggested contact in my phone. No name. Just a member. I haven't blocked it yet.